Hey guys, this is the WalterFootball.com After Dark Show from May 23rd, 2025. We're going to be looking at some overdrafted and underdrafted fantasy football players for the 2025 NFL season, and then do a best ball draft at the end. But before we do that and intro our co-host for tonight, please hit like, subscribe, comment below. Share this video. Visit the link in the description for the merch store. As always, I'm wearing something for the merch store. And for those of you who watched the show last night, there was this hashtag Ken Griffin lied. You might be like, wait, didn't you wear that shirt last night? Well, you know, when you're a dad of kids under 4, you don't really get to take showers and change your clothes. So this is kind of where we are now. But yeah, you can get that as well as some of the other shirts at the merch store. The Ken Griffin Lied shirt is somewhere in here. But yeah, you can. Oh, here it is. Yeah, you can go to any of these. You can change the colors. We have mugs. We have our famous apron. So yeah, there's a 10% off sale right now. So it's a good opportunity to get something from here. You can go to Amazon, buy my books. I have 3 of them. The most recent one is Jerks of the College Years, where I just made fun of people I saw at Penn State. It's pretty simple. I had a lot of fun writing it. I think you guys would have a lot of fun reading it if you haven't already. Also, please consider super chats, super stickers. That's the best way to support the show. We had a great super chat from John Sanders this week, also last week as well. And Slew, Degeneron, Can't Make an Eagle, Armac, Karmic, The Boss, Evan Daniel. You guys have been so great with your contributions. I really can't say enough. So YouTube ads pay nothing. I say this all the time. Now, Kenny and I, before Kenny logged off last night, we had a long conversation after our show was over, and like we were like looking at like how little YouTube ads paid, and like we're just laughing at how bad it is. So and any super chat, super stickers would be really be awesome. All right, so we're joined by Mike Lucine tonight from NFLRoughDraft.com. Mike's been on a few times before. Mike, how are you doing?
Hey, I'm great. Thanks for having me back. And you know, Walt, every time I come back, I'm always happy to see 50 more tabs open on that computer.
This particular window has about, I think, 44 or 45 tabs, and yet it's not the most tabs I have in a window. I have a window with 80 tabs. I have a window with another 42 tabs. And so this is just Chrome. I also have Opera open, which has about 40 tabs. I have 2 Firefox windows. One has about 50 tabs and one has about 10. So that's kind of where we stand. I don't have Edge or anything else or Safari, but maybe one day we'll get to that and get more tabs. So
I love it. Push the limits.
Yeah, so as someone we had a commenter noticed that. I think it was either yesterday or the day before, and they're like, "Your battery's got to just be like nothing." And I'm like, "Yeah, if I have to go somewhere, I restart my computer and don't open up any web browser windows except for one, like a new one that doesn't have any tabs." So that's kind of where we stand with that. But before we begin, I mean, I thought this was amazing. That, like, you know, the first time I had you on, I learned this. Like, you are in like a million fantasy football leagues, which I'm exaggerating, obviously, but like, do you want to like briefly tell that story, or not really a story, but like your background with like doing all the fantasy leagues?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it started. So I used to work at ESPN in stats and information, and my buddies over there, you know, we were in our 20s, and we decided to start a dynasty football league. And, you know, I had a lot of fun with it. A year or 2 later, I decided I was going to, you know, sort of go off on my own and join, you know, another dynasty football league. Well, I had a lot of fun with that too. It turned into like 4 or 5. You know, I don't do drugs, but I would imagine this is kind of like what drugs are like. Once you get past like 5, you've already kind of let yourself go. So why not just go all in? And
Sure.
So now I'm up to about 50. And, you know, believe it or not, like a lot of people hear that and they say, like, well, that's got to be a lot to manage. It's not too bad. Lineup setting on Thursday and Sunday is tough. But with Dynasty Leagues, a lot of these leagues, I'm rostering 35, 40 players. So waivers isn't really that big of a deal. And then even when we have the drafts, like, you know, right now is Dynasty Fantasy Football season, Dynasty Fantasy Football draft season. It's really not that bad because you only have 4 or 5 rounds and they're just rookie drafts. So It's not too bad.
Yeah, that's awesome. And I can, you know, for the first time, I think I can like share your sentiments, sort of. And not really, because it doesn't acquire it doesn't have like as much management involved. But I've done, I think, about like between 40 and 50 best ball drafts already. Luckily with best ball, you don't have to do anything. You just do the draft, and then that's it. You just let the your team stand, and whatever happens happens. The downside is you can't repair your team. You have a bunch of injuries, but the upside is like you don't have to make any decisions with lineups. And I always feel like if I'm like 50-50 on a guy with the lineup, I feel like I always make the wrong choice, and I'm always like kicking myself. I'm like, I should have started the other guy. Why did I do that? And it's always like the 50-50 ones where I just get it wrong. So that's why I like best ball. Just like you could just leave it alone, and if your team's great, you can just keep following it. If your team sucks, you can just like kind of forget about it. So
and drafting's fun, right? Drafting's fun. You get to draft, and then you get to just kind of see how it goes throughout the season.
Yeah, drafting. I think drafting and talking crap to your your league mates. I think those are the two best things about like fantasy football. And obviously with best ball, all you do is draft. So that's one thing covered. I just wish that like DraftKings would have like a chat so you could just make fun of people for bad picks. That's the only thing I would add. That would be a lot of fun. But I guess like a lot of people would feel bad and just stop drafting. So I don't know. Maybe they won't ever do it. That's my suggestion for DraftKings. But so we can get into the ADPs here. We can go like round by like 12. Pretend there's like 12 teams here, which are in the best ball. So we'll go 1 to 12 and then 13 to 24. We'll do 15 rounds and see if we can come up with like any overdrafted or underdrafted players. So first round, if you guys can't see it on the screen, I'll read it out. 1 is Jamar Chase, 2 Saquon Barkley, 3 Justin Jefferson, 4 Bijan Robinson, 5 Jahmyr Gibbs, 6 CeeDee Lamb, 7 Ashton Genty, 8 Malik Neighbors, 9 Amon-Ra St. Brown, 10 Puka Nacua, 11 Derrick Henry, 12 Christian McCaffrey. So do you think any of these guys are like in the first round? Do you think anything's wrong here in the first round as far as guys too low, guys too high?
Well, I mean, these are all studs up here. If I was going to nitpick, 2 things kind of stand out to me. One, I totally understand Saquon Barkley being 2. When I started my redraft rankings, I have him at 5, only because I'd rather take the big wide receivers up here, especially in best ball. But it just kind of seems like Barkley is being priced on what he did last year. Now, of course, still with the Eagles, they still have a lot of talent on their offensive line. There's no reason to believe he's not going to have another great year. But I just look at those ascending backs like Bijan Robinson and Jahmyr Gibbs, and I just feel like if I had to bet on it, I wouldn't be shocked if one of those 2 ended up outproducing Barkley, who really has only had one stellar fantasy football season, even though, of course, he's only had one season with the Eagles.
Right. Can I guess your 4? You said receivers, so I assume they're receivers.
Yeah.
Go. What'd you say?
I will say, so I make my rankings based on FFPC, which is tight end premium. You get 1.5 per reception for a tight end. So we'll throw Brock Bowers out because in a regular league, he's obviously not going ahead of Saquon Barkley. Sure. That wouldn't make any sense at all. Right. So there are 3 other ones.
Okay, 3. So Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson, and the third one's tricky. It could be one of CeeDee Lamb or Malik Neighbors or Brian Thomas Jr. or Amon-Ra St. Brown or Nico Collins or Puka Nacua. Is it one of those guys? I assume it is.
It was Lamb. The first guy you said.
Lamb. Okay.
Now, I don't have a problem with taking Barkley over those guys. He fits there. I think that the other thing that I have a bigger problem with here is Derrick Henry over Christian McCaffrey. Is this half point PPR or is this
full? It's full PPR.
Yeah, in full point PPR, I know McCaffrey was hurt last year, and I know Henry was still good at 29, 30, however old he was last year. But I don't know. Christian McCaffrey in full point PPR, I just think he's a much better bet than Derrick Henry.
I was wondering about that. I didn't know where to rank him, just because he only played 4 games last year. He's an older player. He has a long injury history. I just didn't know, because it feels like there's so much downside with him, but there's amazing upside too. It's pretty tough. So where would you put McCaffrey? I mean, obviously ahead of Henry, but any above anyone else too?
No. As a matter of fact, these are the exact 12 players I would have had if you factored in Brock Bowers, because again, my FFPC leagues are 1.5 PPR for tight ends. So that would give him a bump in that format. So I guess it would just be McCaffrey ahead of Henry.
Interesting. You don't think Gentry's a little too high? That's the only issue I'd have here, just because we don't know how he's going to look, and I know the Raiders are going to be better this year because they have Geno Smith, but I still don't trust them fully.
Yeah, well, I don't take rookies in the first round of redraft leagues, and it's because you get all the hype. And Bijan Robinson had the hype. Najee Harris had the hype. Of course, Genty's got it. He's got a lot of talent. You mentioned a lot of things about the Raiders. Another part of this is when these teams that aren't quite ready to win just yet draft these rookie running backs, they don't play them as much as kind of fans think they're going to.
Right.
And part of that is that they don't play 17 games in college. I know the teams that make the playoffs are playing more now, but they're not used to carrying the load for 17 games, and they don't want to run these guys into the ground as rookies. And then, look at what happens to, there are a couple examples, guys like Todd Gurley who are done when they're 23, 24 years old. So running backs only have that short 4 or 5 year window, 6, 7 if you're lucky. I wouldn't be surprised to see the Raiders manage his load, especially early in the season.
Yeah, I feel the same way. Todd Gurley is just a crazy example. He led the team to the Super Bowl 1 year, and then a couple years later, he's out of the league already. It's crazy. And then we had Bijan and Jahmyr Gibbs as examples 2 years ago, and they didn't get full workloads either, even though they were. Charlie Campbell, our senior NFL draft analyst, considers them better prospects than Gentry. So. There's nothing saying that like Genty's going to suddenly get this full workload, So that I have an issue with that. Just that's the only player I have here in the first round that I wouldn't take the first round. Matthias asking, Mike, what was your top player in drafts last year?
So I think I had Bijan Robinson along with, and this is going to make me look terrible, but
everyone busted at the top. So
well, I had Robinson and Breece Hall. As sort of like my 101 and 101B sort of.
Right.
And at the time, I took a lot of flack for ranking them ahead of Christian McCaffrey. Of course, I didn't know McCaffrey was going to get hurt and all that good stuff. But I mean, just because of age, again, it's kind of similar to what I said about Barkley against Robinson and Gibbs. With running back, you don't want to pay for what they did last year. You want to pay for what they're going to do this year.
Exactly. Yeah. I also had Breece over McCaffrey, and I felt so smart when McCaffrey kept missing game after game. But then I was like, can Breece get going here? He's not doing anything. That was a disappointment. But yeah, good to see you for having Bijan as well over McCaffrey. I was pretty down with McCaffrey too. Brandon says, WTF, I ordered a pizza, but Adam Silver traded all the pepperonis to the Lakers. Very nice. All right. Let's get to the second round here. We start with Nico Collins at 201, the Brian Thomas Jr., Brock Bowers, Ladd McConkey, Devon Achane, Jonathan Taylor, Drake London, A.J. Brown, Josh Allen, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, and Trey McBride. Does anything stand out to you here in the second round?
It's a little early for Achane. I know he caught a lot of passes last year, but he gets hurt a lot, and that offense is a little bit scary. I'm looking at a guy like T. Higgins, who I believe, if you look at points per game last year, he was wide receiver 2 overall. And, that's a situation where you've got a great offense and you've got no defense, which for fantasy is just complete gold. I mean, that team was scoring and then giving up touchdowns and driving down the field and scoring again. And Jamar Chase and T. Higgins were wide receivers 1 and 2 overall. So I wouldn't take Achane over Higgins, although I still understand him being in the second round for sure.
Outside of Jalen Wright, like late in drafts, I don't think I've taken a single Dolphin player. I think I did end up with like Achane in 1 or 2 teams, but I think that was like in the third round when he slipped to me. But other than that, I've not taken a single Miami player. I just think that team is kind of doomed to just be one of the worst teams in the NFL this year. Do you feel the same way about the Dolphins? I look at their roster and I just think that like they have so many holes. Kenny 49ers asking about Jonnu Smith. He's going too early. We'll get to his ADP in a bit, but he's just going way too early. What do you think about the Dolphins?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I mean, first of all, who knows how much Tua is going to play? He unfortunately has the concussion issues. And then you've also got the Tyreek Hill situation. You don't know when that's going to just implode on them.
Yeah.
There are already signs of that. And you kind of saw what that team looked like without Tua last year. It's just, feeding passes to A-Chain, which is nice for fantasy, but, they didn't score a lot of points. I don't know that I can't see taking him over some of those receivers that are there. Like I mentioned Higgins, even Drake London. Once Penix took over, it was the Drake London show for the Falcons last year. AJ Brown is always a wide receiver, a top 12 wide receiver.
Mm-hmm.
I can't take A-Chain over those guys.
I agree.
And Johnny Smith, you're right. I mean, Johnny Smith is really nothing special. I mean, you could throw 10 tight ends that are all just about the same. But Alec Ingold, there we go, former Raider right there.
Yeah. We had a running joke about Alec Ingold because there was, I think it was the Seattle game week 3 last year, or maybe it was week 4, one of those weeks, when Tua was out. So I thought maybe get some like short passes to Hill or Waddle, make them do stuff. But it ended up that like Alec Ingold had had more touches than both of those guys, either one of them. And I was like, this is just like Mike McDaniel, just showing off like how bad of a coach he is without like a functional quarterback. I just lost a lot of respect for him this past year. Just how he handled the games without Tua. He just looked completely lost and just was feeding the ball to Ingold for no reason. So we just made fun of it on the show.
Yeah, it wasn't good. And I mean, you mentioned Waddle. He's another one. Look at what he did as a rookie.
Yeah.
And he hasn't come close to that. So I don't know. That offense scares me.
Yeah, well, we have someone who comes on the show sometimes, and Butters, he calls Jalen Waddle a pyramid scheme, which I thought was pretty funny. Wire receiver special cases. It's I don't know, maybe because like they have to depend on someone to get the ball, so they kind of have to act a little crazy, to get attention. That's how I always felt. I don't know. Like the only I felt like back in the day, the only mild mannered receiver was Marvin Harrison Jr. Oh, not Marvin Harrison Sr. And we saw how little crazy he was off the field. So he just like bottled it up. It reminded me of like Seinfeld, like serenity now, insanity later. So we'll get to the third round here. I don't know why they have Q tags for some of these guys. It's a little too early for that. But I mean, Hill I get, but the other guys, Rashi Rice too. So third round, you mentioned T. Higgins. He kicks off the third round at 301. Then Lamar Jackson, Terry McLaurin, Kyron Williams, Garrett Wilson, Chase Brown, Marvin Harrison Jr., Tyreek Hill, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jaden Daniels, James Cook, and Devontae Adams to close out the third round. Do you see anything that kind of throws you off here?
Yeah, I mean, well, I'll quickly mention Higgins again. My gosh, if you get him in the third round, wide receiver 2 overall, and that defense isn't much better this year. Yes, Marvin. Oh, he's talking about
Larry Fitzgerald. Larry Fitzgerald was like the only sane receiver, I guess.
Yeah, he was. He was. But Marvin Harrison's son, okay, I kind of like him at 31. If you look at what he did as a rookie, it's very comparable to what his dad did as a rookie. And, you've got a lot of people not calling Marvin Harrison Jr. a bust per se, but saying like, oh, wow, what a disappointing season. And, Kyler Murray just had some trouble getting him the ball last year. I expect a big jump up for him this year. So I like him there. And I would the other thing that stands out to me is, Tyreek Hill and Devontae Adams seem like landmines to me.
Really?
There aren't a lot of good 32-year-old wide receivers in the NFL. Devontae Adams is 32. I believe he's going to be 33 in November or December. And that's just the type of pick that can completely ruin your team. If you take him in the third round, and, I know it's a great situation with the Rams and Sean McVay's there and all that. But, I mean, if he shows up and he's a shell of himself, and he was kind of a shell of himself last year, to be honest, then you just wasted your third round pick.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've drafted him not a lot, but I've drafted him like somewhat. You do make a good point. I did think the upgrade at quarterback and coach would maybe offset the age. But I mean, you're right. Like the age should be a concern, and I usually don't like to draft older receivers, so or older players in general, I guess. So yeah, I mean that's a good point. I think maybe I should lower Adams. I was not high on Harrison just because I don't really trust Kyler Murray to stay healthy all year. He just hasn't done that except for last year. But like, is Lightning going to strike twice again? I don't know. But then again, they did sign Jacoby Brissett, who's kind of like on the upper tier of backup quarterbacks. So maybe he can keep Harrison Jr. being functional, and maybe he's going to be even better for Harrison than Murray is going to be, because, like you said, like Murray just couldn't get him the ball for some reason, and I don't know if that's just magically going to be fixed in the second year. But then again, maybe it could be if they work out a lot together in the summer. So, but yeah, I mean, you did mention Hill as well. We talked about the Dolphins, pretty down on him. Everyone else here seems fine, and you did mention that Higgins should be in the second round. So, all right, let's get to round 4. We begin with Rashee Rice, 401, then Mike Evans, Breece Hall, Joe Mixon, Joe Burrow, Travis Hunter, DJ Moore, Omarion Hampton, Xavier Worthy, George Kittle, Jalen Hurts, and Devontae Smith, 2 Eagles at the end there, the 4th round. So does anything stand out to you here in the 4th round?
Yeah, and by the way, this is a great exercise. I love hearing, your opinions and, taking a look at this ADP while I'm still in dynasty mode. And speaking of dynasty, these rookies are really standing out to me as reaches in the 4th round.
Absolutely.
You've got Omarion Hampton there in the 4th round. We don't know if he's going to even be the lead back for the first half of the season. We don't know if he's going to be the lead back at all this season. It's certainly possible that Najee Harris is the starter this year, and Hampton takes a bigger role after this year. The other issue with that is this is a full point PPR league, and the Greg Roman offenses historically have not targeted the running back position. As a matter of fact, they're usually like bottom 2 or 3 in the entire NFL in running back targets. And that's even going back to his days with the 49ers. Travis Hunter, I love Travis Hunter as a player. I mean, what a terrible trade by the Jaguars. But I mean, I love him as a player. But I mean, so he's a 4th round pick, and he's got Brian Thomas there, who I believe was in the 1st or 2nd round of this ADP. Is Trevor Lawrence all of a sudden going to be supporting, 2 top, whatever this is, top 20 receivers? I mean, that's a pretty big gamble to take right there. So they kind of strike me as, and McMillan, I mean, my gosh. First of all, I don't trust him. I've got a good buddy who's a beat writer for the Houston Texans, Cody Stutes, real great guy, did an interview with McMillan, and I watched the interview. McMillan just kind of like didn't seem like he was like, yeah, I don't watch football. I don't really like to watch film.
It's scary.
Yeah. I mean, that's really scary when you're talking about a top 10 pick on a team that has questionable quarterback play. Maybe Bryce Young will break out, but yikes. Panthers offense at 49.
Yeah, I had a theory about that pick because it came out of the blue. Like, everyone projected Jalen Walker there, or I saw some have some other defenders, like Mason Graham fell to them, like they mocked him there. And then McMillan came out of the blue. My theory was that David Tepper, who's just completely embarrassed about the Bryce Young decision because he's the one who made it. I think he just wants Bryce Young to succeed no matter what. So he was just like, let's give me the receiver. I don't care who it is. Just give me the top receiver. So I think that he made that decision there.
I think you're completely right. But that could blow up in their faces.
Oh yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I don't like these rookies at all here. I think later on, like once you get to like round 9, 10, 11 and onward, like you see like good values with rookies. But here, like especially Hampton, like you said, like we don't know if he's gonna be the starter. I think year 2 probably, but Najee Harris has never missed a game in his career. So it's tough to even just count on an injury there. And plus he's rushed for 1,000 yards every year. And I think like people will just consider him to be a bust. And like, yeah, as a first rounder he was, but like if Harris were drafted in the 3rd round, I think everyone would think like, oh, he's had a good career. He's going to be decent for the Chargers. Not great, but decent. And I think that's kind of where they are. And I think Jim Harbaugh, being an old school coach, is just going to trust him more than some rookie, even though Hampton was in the first round. So,
yeah, totally agree. I mean, J.K. Dobbins had a good year there last year. The guy doesn't even have any legs left.
Right.
So certainly, Najee Harris could put together a good season there. I don't know. I'm not taking a guy who you literally can't play for the first couple weeks of the season in the fourth round.
Yeah, that's a way. So where would you take these guys, these rookies, Hampton and I forget McMillan, but Hampton and Hunter, these upper tier rookies? Where would you take them?
This year, I think you're looking at the 6th, 7th, 8th round, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
Last year we had kind of a unique class. We had Neighbors, Adunze, Marvin Harrison. Those are receivers where, sure, you could take a shot on those guys second half of the 3rd round, 4th round. That made sense.
Mm-hmm.
None of those caliber receivers are in this draft.
Yeah.
And the running backs, the rookie running backs always get pushed way up because everybody looks at them and says, this guy's going to win the league for me. And everybody likes to forget all of those rookie running backs that you draft in the 3rd or 4th round who literally don't play. I mean, you remember DeAndre Swift as a rookie going in the 3rd round?
Yep.
And we talked about even Bijan Robinson. What a great prospect. But he was going 106, 107 as a rookie, and he wasn't even playing. He was getting 40% of the carries for the first half of the year.
Yep. I think he had 8 or 9 carries his first game or something. It was very tilted. I don't think I took him in the first round, but I did get him in one of my leagues in the second, and that ended up being a reach. So I learned my lesson there. I just thought he was just such a unique prospect that they were just giving the ball, but they didn't even do that. So in fairness, though, their coordinator was kind of a disaster. So Slew says, if I have 2 players rated evenly, I break the tie in favor of the younger player in many cases. Less tread on the tires and less hits absorbed in the demolition derby called football. Yeah, I think that's a good take to have. If it's a tie, just take the younger player. Or, if they're both around the same age, maybe go with the player in the better offense or guy with the better quarterback or something, or coaching staff, So I like that. So all right, let's get to the 5th round. We started with McMillan. We talked about him. So after that, we have Cortland Sutton, R.J. Harvey, another rookie, Alvin Kamara, Chuba Hubbard, DK Metcalf. This is Jamison Williams, Zay Flowers, Kenneth Walker, George Pickens, Sam Laporta, and James Conner to close out the 5th round. So what are you seeing here in the 5th?
Off the bat, I like some of these running back choices. See, the love for the rookies pushes the old guys down, like Kamara. Kenneth Walker going 57. I think that's good value right there. And even James Conner at 60. Now, I know I just talked about the old receiver adage. And I don't like taking old receivers in the 2nd, 3rd round. With running backs, it's kind of like a different beast, right? Because if they're playing that week, they have value. They don't have to even really necessarily be good anymore. They just have to get the ball. You look at Kamara. Kamara had a year, I don't think it was last year. It was the year before last year where, he wasn't even that good, but he caught, Derek Carr checked the ball down to him.
Yeah.
I don't remember how many catches he had off the top of my head, but he had 80, 90 catches, something like that. And had a great PPR season just based off of that. And I think, Zay Flowers is good value there as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I like these running back picks. I think there are some really good values in rounds 5 through 8 with these running backs, as you'll see. There is some even better values, I think, round 8. And Zay Flowers stands out to me. I like DK Metcalf here, even though we don't really know the quarterback is going to be in Pittsburgh, but we kind of know. And then there's Cortland Sutton too. So you have 3 number 1 receivers going in round 5, which I like collecting number 1 receivers. I think T. Higgins is the only receiver too I'm interested in the first 5 rounds. But otherwise, I do want to get as many receiver ones as possible. All right, let's get to the 6th round. So we begin with Deebo Samuel. Then another rookie, Travion Henderson, Calvin Ridley, David Montgomery, Chris Godwin, Jalen Waddle, Patrick Mahomes, Quinshaw Judkins, Jerry Jeudy, Jordan Addison, Jawan Jennings, and Roma Dunze to close out round 6. So does anything stand out to you here?
Yeah, I'm going to make a bold claim based on this. I think by the end of August, Travion Henderson and Omarion Hampton switch places. And it has nothing to do with them as like NFL football prospects, but you look at Henderson, he could play. He's so good in pass protection, which, as you know from covering the NFL draft for so long, is so vital to getting these guys on the field, these running backs on the field early in their career. And he's also such a good pass catcher. So I think he's a great value, this far. Now, I don't know why you would take Hampton 2 rounds earlier. And then the other guy that stands out to me here, I'm all in on Roma Dunze. I know some people are disappointed by him last year. I personally thought he was in the same sort of tier as Marvin Harrison and Malik Neighbors when he was drafted. I know he had like 750 yards receiving, but Caleb Williams could take a step forward with Ben Johnson there. You don't have Keenan Allen there anymore. I think that's great value. Roma Dunze at that point could potentially be a league winner.
Yeah, interesting. What do you think about the other receivers here right before him, Jordan Addison and Jawan Jennings? As we have comments saying Jordan Addison should be higher than Flowers, which I don't agree with, but like I do like Addison and Jennings. But what are your thoughts on them?
Yeah, I mean, I like Addison. I think his potential is sort of capped by one, Justin Jefferson. And then, some might say, well, but wait a minute, I just talked up T. Higgins. He's got Jamar Chase, who's also going to get a lot of target volume. But the second thing here is, instead of having Joe Burrow there, he's got J.J. McCarthy. I like J.J. McCarthy, but he hasn't started a game yet in the NFL. So I have a hard time believing that he's going to step right in, support, a wide receiver 1 overall or 2 overall or whatever Jefferson's going to be, and then also support another top 24 receiver. Whereas I think, a Dunze could potentially be the number 1 receiver on that team. It wouldn't be shocking. And then Jennings, I know everybody loves Jennings, and he had some good games last year, but he's another one where would it shock you if Ricky Pearsall was the top receiver on that team this year?
No, not at all. I've been trying to get one of them because like they're the only 2 viable receivers right now on the team. Debo's gone, and Ayuk's coming off the torn ACL. We don't know when he's going to play. Obviously, they still have Kittle, but I mean, we saw Jennings go nuts last year at times, and like when there were injuries. And then Pearsall, like you said, he was my number 1 sleeper last year until he got shot. So I expect him to be much better in his second year. So I've been trying to get one of them, like I said, and then I ended up getting Brock Purdy as a kind of a correlation there. So. Yeah, I mean that's kind of been my strategy. I just feel like Jennings and Pearsall are going too late. Although Jennings has moved up a little bit, I'll say this. Like I would say before the draft, they had like Jennings was like mid 7th round, and now he's crept up to like late 6th. So, and we did a draft last night. We saw him go round 5, 505, which yeah, a little too early for me, but I do like him still. Sue says if I don't get DJ Moore, look to get a Dunze. I think Chicago's offense should be enhanced, with not just Ben Johnson, but the offensive lineman they got. And then I was thinking Flowers was way too low. I mean, well, I think in best ball it's different with Zay Flowers because like in redraft you have to worry about his low potential. Like he has like a 3 or 4 point performance like potential, but then he has these insane games too. And I just think in best ball. He can really go off. So I think he's too low. So I think he should be higher here. And you did mention him too. So, okay, let's get to the 7th round. We begin with another rookie, Caleb Johnson, then Aaron Jones, Travis Kelce, Chris Olave, Jacoby Myers, Baker Mayfield, Khalil Shakir, Tony Pollard, Cooper Kupp, Stephon Diggs, TJ Hawkinson, and DeAndre Swift. So what do you think about this round 7?
Yeah, round 7's looking pretty gross right here. I'm not a lot of these guys here. I think the issue with Caleb Johnson is what we talked about. He's going to probably play a lot, but we don't know. I mean, in Dynasty, this is a huge thing where every year around this time of the year, everyone's like, oh, yeah, they drafted this running back and he's going to play. And then we get to August and it's like, all right, well, this guy's actually third on the depth chart. He's going to be inactive for the first 2 months of the season. And some, sort of mediocre, backup or some special teams player is going to take his spot on the active game day roster. So yeah, I certainly don't hate that, gamble because it's a little bit later. And it could be a league winner. I mean, we don't know, but that offense is kind of gross. The defense is good, should be low scoring games, and we don't know how much he's going to play. I'll tell you who I don't really mind here is Aaron Jones. If you get your running back 2 here in the 7th round, he plays in a good offense. You plug him in. I know people look at him and they're like, all right, he's never going to be better than what he's been in the past. But that's a really solid running back 2 very late in the draft.
Yeah, I agree. I like Jones. I've been getting him as my RB2 sometimes. I love the offensive line upgrades they made with Ryan Kelly and Will Fries, and they drafted Donovan Jackson in the first round. And it seemed like Kevin O'Connell was kind of like hell bent on getting the best offensive line. Like, I don't know if you heard the call that he made to Donovan Jackson, but he was like, "Hey, would you want to join the best offensive line in the NFL?" Like that's kind of like his selling point. Just, not that he needed to sell himself to Jackson, he just drafted him, but I do like the attention that they made to the offensive line. That's why I'm pretty high on Minnesota in general. They're kind of like my sleep. I don't know if like a 40-1's a sleeper Super Bowl team. But I bet the Vikings are 40-1 to win the Super Bowl. I know McCarthy's the question mark, but really, I think if you take away quarterback, I think they have a top 3 roster in the NFL, which is really high on them. Were you going to say something?
Well, yeah, no, I agree with you. I mean, if you look at it, I mean, the rookie quarterback, I know he's not a rookie, second-year quarterback, whatever you want to label McCarthy as, for fantasy purposes, it might be a little bit tough, but for actually winning games, I mean, the way the salary cap is constructed, you either have to have one of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, or you've got to have a quarterback on his rookie deal to win a Super Bowl. So I think they're in a great spot. I think that's a great bet.
Yeah, that's why I bet the Redskins as well, or one of the reasons. Jane Daniels' second year, they were able to get Laramie Tunsil, Deebo Samuel, and the rest of the roster is really good too. So yeah, those 2 teams I'm a big fan of. John says I think Jacoby Myers is too low. So I look a couple other guys in this round. Jacoby Myers is someone who's always like Mr. Consistent, but he hasn't had like the high ceiling. But if you think about his quarterbacks, he's had Bailey Zappi, Mac Jones, Aiden O'Connell, Gardner Minshew. Like Geno Smith's not great, but he's basically like Dan Marino compared to those guys. So I think Jacoby Myers is someone who should be going a little bit higher. What do you think about him?
Yeah, that makes sense. I still wonder if his ceiling was last year. I know the quarterback play wasn't as good as it should be this year with Geno Smith and playing all those dome games. But, you've got the second-year bump from Bowers, who's, obviously tight ends make so much progress typically, after their rookie year. You've got Besh there. You've got a couple other, they brought in more depth at receiver so that, Dante Thornton and Tommy Millott, if he's got to make the team first. But I'm just saying they brought in more competition at wide receiver. And then, of course, Gentry should be, last year the Raiders just couldn't run the ball at all. And now the running game should be a much bigger part of what they're doing. Just makes me wonder if that 1,000-yard season was, sort of going to be his career year.
Yeah. There's one other guy I like here, and one other guy I will not touch, even if he's in the 12th round. The one guy I like is DeAndre Swift. We talk about running back values. He's been my RB2 in a lot of drafts, and this is Ben Johnson. He's had Swift on his team before in Detroit, but he tends to get the most out of his running backs, and like they didn't draft a running back until the 7th round. So I think that Swift is just going to get a big workload. So what do you think about him before we get to the guy I hate?
Yeah, I mean, you could make the case that having some Bears correlation this year could be, a big time, like not just best ball league winner, but best ball tournament league, championship winner. Because if Caleb Williams takes a step with Ben Johnson, you could be looking at Swift taking off, Adunze taking off, and maybe even Moore has a career year.
Yeah. The one guy I will not draft like in the first 12 rounds is Cooper Kupp. This is the first time he's not going to have Sean McVay or either Matthew Stafford or Jared Goff, minus a few games when there's been injuries at quarterback. But there's definitely a downgrade to Darnold, who's not going to have Kevin O'Connell coaching him up or Justin Jefferson to lean on. And he's an older player too. And he was really, he looked decrepit at the end of last year. I don't know what he's doing here in the 7th round. What do you think about Cooper Kupp?
Yeah, I was going to make the point that you made at the end there. We kind of already seen his decline. In the second half of last season, I was kind of surprised that he got as much guaranteed money as he did. Yeah. That's a scary situation. I think you're looking at Smith-Njigba if you're looking at a Seattle receiver, unless you're taking a shot on the rookie tight end Arroyo sort of a lot later, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know why he's in the 7th round. I guess member berries, I remember Cooper Kupp. I don't quite get it. Diggs, Matthias says Diggs is a solid pick here. May going to be great. Well, Diggs is coming out the torn ACL, which I have an issue with. I don't draft running backs or receivers coming out torn ACLs. Do you agree with my Diggs take, or do you agree with Matthias in there?
No, I agree with you. I don't like Diggs either. I will say that even though he's got the torn ACL, I do like Diggs at 82, though, a lot more than I like Devontae Adams at 32 or whatever that was.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it makes sense. And I do think that the Drake May should take some sort of step. Kenny says, Zay is boom or bust weekly, too risky for me. Well, I mean, like I said, redraft, that's different. Here in best ball, that's what you want. You want the high upside guys.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And John says, when Darnold's the QB, you have to overpay for a receiver. Yeah, I guess so. All right, so 8th round, we begin with Ricky Pearsall, whom we mentioned before. Brian Robinson Jr., Matthew Golden, Bo Nix, Jonnu Smith, Isaiah Pacheco, Jaden Reed, Jared Goff, Brandon Ayuk, Kyler Murray, Tyrone Tracy, and Tyler Warren to close out round 8. What do you think about this group?
This is where I love the rookies. Once we get into this range, now you're looking at players who could potentially win the league for you, and they don't even need to be good, for early in the season. So usually when I'm looking at rookie receivers in this range, my mindset is I want them to be about a top 15 wide receiver during the second half of the year. So I don't care if they're wide receiver 100 for the first 6 or 7 weeks, but the second half of the year, that's where you see so many of these guys kind of step up and, really kind of show some development. I know last year was a little bit of an exception because we had such a good receiving crop, but typically, that's where you see it. And Matthew Golden, for me, I know that's a crowded wide receiver room. You just need one of those guys to break out. Last year, all those Packers wide receivers were so overpriced. Here, that's worth a gamble. What if he ends up being their top receiver second half of the year? That's a guy who's going to win you the league. Guy who kind of Tyler Warren's another one. It's a terrible offense, but is he gonna play wildcat? At the goal line. I know they have Anthony Richardson, but the guy's hurt every time he tries to touch the ball. So maybe they take some of the load off of Anthony Richardson with the trying to just jam it in from the 1 yard line, and they use Tyler Warren like he was used at Penn State. And then one guy here who I would avoid would be Ayuk. You don't know when he's even going to play. When he does come back, this is going to be, say, in May, this is the situation where it's like, oh yeah, I'll draft this guy and then I'll have him for the last, half of the season. But when it actually comes down to it, this is a situation where you're like sitting there in November and you're like, all right, well, his practice window opened and all right, well, he's back next week, but I don't want to put him in my lineup because he hasn't played in a year. And,
yeah.
All right, well, he played 25% of the snaps, so maybe I'll wait another 3 weeks. And then, it's week 13, and you don't feel good about putting him in your lineup. So I'd avoid him here.
Yeah, do you draft him at all? Like if he's like if you're in a league where everyone's thinking like you and he drops to like round 14, do you take a flyer on him? Like say you don't have an IR spot, like what do you do there?
Yeah, I mean, in best ball, I know you're taking a guaranteed zero
Mm,
for the first half of the season, and there are a lot of people who will say just avoid players like that in best ball, just don't take them at all. I
yeah,
don't have a problem with it in the 14th round. I think if you want to take a shot that he's going to hit your lineup 4 times maybe next year, I think that's reasonable. That late.
yeah, yeah. What about redraft when you just you have to roster them?
And that's kind of like the same thing, right? Like, so in a lot of leagues I play, you get like 10 bench spots, and there I don't really mind them as much. But a
Mm,
lot of these Yahoo leagues and ESPN leagues, you have like 5 bench spots, and it's just hard to take a guy like that. And, again, it's one of those deals where in August, when you're drafting your redraft team, you're like, oh, I'll take Ayuk and I'll put him on IR, and, he'll be my IR spot. And then by week 3, you've got like 8 players who need to go on IR, and you're like, I'm going to drop Brandon Ayuk because he's never going to play.
yeah, yeah. I feel like that always happens. You always think you have a great value, and then like by week 4 he's gone. So
Yeah.
we mentioned Pearsall already. I like him here. Isaiah Pacheco, I think, is going way too late because I think people remember what they saw from him last year when he came back from injury. He wasn't 100%. I feel like there's a great chance that he's 100% this year. Um, so what do you think about him? Because also Tyron Tracy, because he looked so electric last year. What do you think about those two running backs? It's like potential RB2s in round 8.
Yeah, absolutely. I think especially in best ball, right? Because you don't have to worry about any kind of consistency.
Mm-hmm.
And, Tracy's definitely going to get, I think, I know a lot of Russell Wilson couldn't have gone many places to be a quarterback upgrade, but Tracy's going to get a quarterback upgrade there. And of course, he's got Scadaboo hanging around over there. But again, Scadaboo is a day 3 pick. And uh, this is one of those deals where everybody in May is looking at Scadaboo. He's the guy. But what tends to happen is we get to August and it's like, all right, well, you know, let's go with the veteran early in the season. And sometimes early in the season turns into the whole season. I know when I say veteran, he's only been in the league for a
Right,
year, but
right.
still, like, there aren't a lot of rookie receivers and running backs, and certainly tight ends, who just like jump right into huge featured roles right in week 1 or week 2 of their rookie seasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all right. So some comments here. Jeffrey Lee trying to hurt my feelings. Only tune in to see what Walter football looked like. Somehow even uglier than I imagined. My wife said I was handsome like the other day, like 4 weeks ago. So she disagrees, Jeffrey. So take that.
That's all
Uh,
that matters.
exactly. Yeah, I'm not trying to impress anyone anymore. Just that my wife is all that matters. You're right. AJ says, "Is Diggs washed?" He's coming up to torn ACL. I worry about him. He was an older player too. So I have not drafted Diggs at all. I think he's a little too early for me, for my liking. But yeah, I mean, we talked about him already. So Jordan Watkins is this year's Puka Nacua. John always asking who is this year's Puka Nacua. I said last night maybe Keandre Lambert-Smith, the receiver from the Chargers. Same round. You have Justin Herbert there. He's a quick receiver, he's a good route runner. I think maybe, like, given his good route running ability, maybe he gets into the lineup earlier than most 5th-round rookies would. So I taking a shot in the dark there, because like the next Puka Nacua has to be someone you don't see coming. So I don't know. Does any late round guy stand out to you as like being Puka Nacua?
I mean, I'm not going to predict any 5th-round pick getting
Right.
1,400 yards. Watkins is interesting only because I know he was really good after Trey Harris got hurt last year,
Mm-hmm.
but Lane Kiffin just schemes guys open. I mean, that's always right. That's always the criticism of those quarterbacks that come out of there. It's like you can't really evaluate them because guys are just running wide open the whole time. If I was gonna, and I'm gonna sound dumb for doing this in a few months because we're talking about day 3 guys, but I kind of like Jalen Lane. Um,
Okay.
you know, some of his combine numbers were just absolutely absurd, and he just played for a terrible offense and didn't get a lot of opportunities. So he's not going to have 1,400 yards receiving because he's with Washington, and they've got McLaurin still there and Debo's still there, and they like to throw the ball to the tight end, and maybe Ben Sinnott's more of a factor this year. But he's a day 3 receiver that I kind of like.
Yeah, I like that one. I like that call. Who will be the Bills' number 1 receiver, Shakir Coleman or TBD? I mean, Shakir to start. I can see them maybe trading for someone. Chris Olave has been rumored to be on the market. I mean, I know they traded for Cooper last year, but maybe they'll determine that they need a true number 1 receiver, and Olave might do it for them, but he has the concussion question marks too. So I don't know. It's Shakir right now. Unless do you have any faith in Keon Coleman?
No, I mean, we'll see how he's been. We'll see what we get right in September after the summer's over. But you've also got, remember, they signed Joshua Palmer and just recently Elijah Moore. Now, I know they're not anything special, but you could be looking at another situation where you've got like 5 guys who have 800 yards receiving by the end of the year.
Yeah, it's like the Packers, where it's like each week someone's a different receiver, number 1 receiver. John saying, surprised Brian Robinson Jr. is that low. They may improve their offensive line, and Skins didn't make any major moves at running back this offseason. That's true. I don't know. It feels like late in the year they were kind of reluctant to give him a full workload. That really bothered me. So I kind of left like a bad taste in my mouth. Do you feel the same way, or what do you think about Robinson?
Yeah, they're giving the ball to McNichols, who's I can't even believe that guy's still in the league. And staying still in the league is almost kind of not even accurate. Like, he's in the league at 29 years old when I mean, I remember him from obviously the draft and then getting cut in Hard Knocks as a rookie. But yeah, and then of course, I mean, he's not going to catch a lot of passes, and Jaden Daniels is going to have a whole bunch of rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, exactly. All right, let's get to round 9 here. We begin with Caleb Williams, then Cam Scatterbo, two guys we talked about already. Emeka Egbuka, Josh Downs, Justin Fields, Jalen Warren, Mark Andrews, Najee Harris, Dak Prescott, Jaden Higgins, Brock Purdy, and Michael Pittman Jr. to close out round 9. So who do you like here, and who don't you like?
Yeah, so I want to say that I said this on your show, but I'm not 100% certain. I'm pretty sure I said my guy this year, meaning last year, was Josh Downs. And the guy had like 10 targets a game when he was healthy. So for me, this is way too late for him. I mean, way too late. That was only his 2nd year. And, he was having a good camp and then had, a somewhat major injury that kept him out for the first couple weeks of the season. He came back and it looked like he didn't miss a beat. So, yeah, I mean, Josh Downs he strikes me as a huge value right there.
Yeah, I like both Colt receivers here. Pittman also. My only hope would be that Daniel Jones starts instead of Richardson, because Richardson is just such a big disappointment last year. I don't know. Maybe, who knows? Maybe he can make some strides and improve. But I don't know. I don't really have much faith in him. Jalen Warren stands out. Like we were talking about Caleb Johnson. Like Jalen Warren is the starter right now, so I don't mind him around 9. I've drafted Caleb Williams whenever I've drafted, DJ Moore or Rome Odunze, just kind of like pairing with them. Brock Purdy as well. I've drafted Brock Purdy too, because I mentioned either getting Jennings or Pearsall, and then drafting Purdy in round 9. So that's kind of where I stand here. Does anything else stand out, or do you want to go to round 10?
Well, we talked about Najee Harris, right? I mean, he's getting pushed down. Obviously, this is because of Hampton, but this could be the type of pick. Remember Raheem Mostert a couple of years ago when he had all those touchdowns? He was pushed way down like this because they drafted A-Chain. And everyone said, well, Mostert's old and A-Chain's there, and Mostert had like 20 touchdowns. So, that could end up being a good value for him. Could end up being a good value for Dak Prescott because they still have no running back. They've got Pickens there with Lamb now. They drafted Tyler Booker in the 1st round to help sort of, they compensate, I guess, for the losses on the offensive line. That's what stands out to me here.
Yeah. John saying, what good are targets per game when your quarterback has a 47% completion percentage? It's definitely true. That's all I'm saying. Daniel Jones would be ideal. I mean, Downs played better with Flacco last year, which is saying a lot, about Richardson. But like I said, who knows? Maybe he'll make an improvement. In his rookie year, I think he completed, let's say, 59% of his passes. I could be wrong, but it was somewhere, I think it was somewhere in the upper 50s. And he just really regressed last year for some reason. So, I don't know.
If
Maybe a rebound.
if Josh Downs gets 10 targets and he catches 4 and 7-10 passes per game, I'll take that.
That's true. Pittman is my Cooper Kupp. Wouldn't touch him in the first 14 rounds. Interesting. I wonder why he's not that old. Like, Cooper Kupp is ancient, as far as the receiver is concerned. Like, Pittman's still, like, he's pretty young, right? I mean, how old is he? Let me
This is the second year of his contract after his rookie year, so he's still
27.
very,
He's 20. Yeah, he's 27. So he still has like 4 or 5 good years, I think. I don't know. I mean, he's not like anything special, but I don't know. I think not ninth round is a sixth receiver, or fifth receiver. Like, I'm fine with it.
he could also end up somewhere else too. I mean, that's a guy where, I mean, would it shock you to see him move to another team in October, right?
No, not at all. Yeah, he could go to the Bills, another guy could go to Buffalo. And that would make him a lot better. So yeah, I do like Downs better, as you pointed out, but I like Pittman as well. And by the way, Pittman, I feel like, is like the last receiver I like to draft. It just really falls off here, as you'll see. All right, so beginning of 10th round, we have Evan Ingram. I guess Darnell Mooney. Darnell Mooney kind of counts, but Darnell Mooney, Jordan Mason, Colston Loveland, Justin Herbert, Zach Charbonnet, Trey Harris, C.J. Stroud, Javonte Williams, Travis Etienne, Luther Burden, and David Njoku to close out round 10. What do you think about this round?
All right, this is gross, but I'm going to go double tight end here.
Nice.
All right. First, you've got Evan Engram. There are rumors that he's going to play that joker position in the Sean Payton offense. It's worth a shot, especially in full point PPR. And then the other one is David Njoku here at the end of the round. Yeah. If Joe Flacco is the starter for the Browns, and who knows who's going to be the starter there, but if Flacco starts the year for them, I mean, that guy loves tight ends. I mean, and you saw when he was the starter there last time what Njoku did. He completely, I mean, he played, I think it was the best stretch of his career. So with Joe Flacco there, I think Njoku's a good value here as well.
I do like the tight ends here. I like the quarterbacks here. I like Herbert, like Stroud to maybe bounce back. It's kind of like the positions I've targeted here in the 10th round. Like, once I'm done drafting like all my main running backs and receivers. That's what I like to do here. I mean, a Charbonnet as well. Charbonnet, like the one running back I sometimes take here if I don't feel like I'm fulfilled with my running backs. So I feel like he's kind of like the upper tier backup at the position. Let's get to round 11. We start with Jordan Love, then Rashad Bateman, Drake May, Ramondre Stevenson, J.J. McCarthy, Jaden Blue, Marvin Mims Jr., Bishal Tootin, Keon Coleman, Tucker Kraft, Trevor Lawrence, and then Isaiah Likely to close out round 11. So who do you like here?
I don't hate Bateman in best ball. I'd have a hard time ever putting him in a lineup, but in best ball, that's a good offense. Lamar Jackson made strides as a passer last year. Don't hate him there. Marvin Mims is kind of interesting just based off of what he did at the end of last year. That's one where he could totally, burn you if you take him here too. We've seen that before. I think we had that year where Tyler Higbee had some huge final 5 games of the season. Everyone was like, wow, he looks like Rob Gronkowski. And then obviously Tyler Higbee was never Rob Gronkowski again. But Marvin Mims is a little bit interesting there because if he picks up where he left off, he's going to be a great value there in best ball. And then, you know what like John is saying, taking a shot on Keon Coleman there isn't the worst thing in the world. If he makes strides over the summer, he could obviously he's in the right offense, to put up big numbers.
Yeah, Mims did play well at the end of last year for sure. I was always tilted by him because when Rainmakers was around, I got every pack I opened had a Marvin Mims in it, no matter what the rarity. It was always Marvin Mims. And like we did it live on the show. I'm not even like you can go back in the archives and see it. We open packs every Wednesday, Kenny and I, and it'd be like I'm probably getting Marvin Mims here. It'd be Marvin Mims. Like come on. And he just had a terrible rookie year. I'm like, what do I do with these cards? And then like Raymakers canceled. They cancel Raymakers, and then Mims goes off at the end of last year, of course. So I always felt tilted by that. I just didn't work out, unfortunately. Do you like Jaden Blue in the 11th round? I feel like I don't draft him a lot, but I have drafted him a little bit. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's sort of like a Nyheim Hines. Certainly there's opportunity in that offense. I'm kind of a little bit intrigued by their other rookie running back, Phil Maffa. He got hurt and wasn't the same after he got hurt, and obviously he's a much different back. Maffa's a bigger back. They don't play, it's almost like they don't even really play the same position. Yeah. But someone's going to have some value at running back in that offense. There's just too much other talent for the running back position to not, have some sort of a hit. But I think given the choice, I would take Tootin only because it feels like the new Jaguars regime is really down on ETN. Yeah, so there's the question right there. Who will be the Jags running back one? It won't surprise me if ETN's not there week one. I almost expect him to not be like traded for a late round pick swap or something like that before week one. And I don't know if he'll be the starter because he needs to hang on to the ball, but I like that gamble.
I agree. I think that there's a good chance ETN's traded. I like that call. I would right now go with Tank Bigsby because he has the experience, but this is the new regime's guy. Tootin is their guy. They're the ones who drafted him. So yeah, they take that into account. I just wish he was going a little bit later than the 11th round, but what can you do? There are some really good values. We'll get to them now probably. So we begin the 11th the 12th round here with Jake Betch, then Dalton Kincaid, Dallas Goedert, Rashid Shaheed, Rashad White, Kyle Pitts, Christian Kirk, Michael Penix Jr., Tajay Spears, Tua Tagovailoa, Adam Thielen, Matthew Stafford. Actually, the running back I had in mind is not here. So what do you think about this 12th round?
Yeah, so when we get late in redraft, I'm usually looking for running backs. With this being best ball, Rashid Shaheed kind of stands out. I know he was hurt last year. That offense is not going to be very good this year, but he's the type of guy where you take him, he's going to hit your lineup with a few 20-point games just based on long touchdown catches.
Yeah, that's definitely for sure. I'm also taking the quarterbacks here too. Although like Stafford, for example, I don't mind him in the 12th round. I wouldn't take Tua just because I don't trust him to stay healthy. I don't know what to think about Penix. I'm kind of like, for fantasy wise at least. I've drafted Rashad White a little bit just because, Irving goes down. And plus, like, he's going to get some catches anyway. And then I've drafted Kincaid sometimes, and then Goddard if I've taken Hurts earlier. Just kind of a stack there. So I don't think anything to be excited about. And I said I thought there's a great running back value here because I often take the guy in round 12. So I guess his ADP is round 13. So I'm sure it will come up here. Yes, he's here. So we begin with Kyle Williams at 1301, then Jake Ferguson, Isaac Orendo, Hollywood Brown, Zach Ertz, Tank Bigsby, Cam Ward, Bryce Young, Austin Eckler, Geno Smith, Jalen McMillan, and Trey Benson. And my phone is going off for some reason. It's like I can't understand what you're saying. So what do you think about the 13th round, and can you locate the sleeper running back I love?
I'm thinking you're thinking Trey Benson here, and you're not.
Yes, no, same division.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a quick story here.
Okay, sure.
When Ray and I were finalizing last year, 2024's top 100. That's our top 100 is like our bread and butter on our site. That's what we submit to the Huddle Report. We can't beat you and Charlie in the mock draft, all right? Get like one pick right per year. You guys get like 30 picks right. Okay, but day 2, the top 100, we were like number one out of everyone for like 4 or 5 years in a row. And we wanted to put Isaac Guerendo in our top 100. I mean, that guy's combine numbers were outrageous.
Yeah.
And I thought he should have gone in the top 100. Last year, when he got the chance to play, he looked like a top 100 back.
Mm-hmm.
And if anything happens to McCaffrey, I know they drafted Jordan James. They always draft a running back. But yeah, with Jordan Mason gone, I think Isaac Guerendo is a league winner if Christian McCaffrey gets hurt.
Yeah, I think he's my highest owned player. I drafted him round 12 a bunch. That's why I thought he went round 12, but his ADP is round 13. And McCaffrey, like we talked about earlier with McCaffrey, I mean, he could be awesome this year, but he also has a ton of injury history. His injury history is insane. He only played 4 games last year. He's an older player now. Like I think that there's a really good chance that Guerendo starts several games this year, if not like more than half the season. And if he does, like you said, league winner for sure in the 13th round. Like I just think the upside's way too high to ignore. I've seen like a couple of times I haven't drafted him because like some teams or some drafters have taken him like round 11 when I don't think he's going to go. And I would take him in the 11th round if I thought I had to. But like every time, like in round 12, I have that like in the back of my mind. Like, all right, round 12, let's take Guerendo. Just to make sure. I mean, like even if he bombs and does nothing this year, McCaffrey plays every game, it's still a round 13 pick. It's not going to burn me, So, yeah.
If he weren't stuck behind 2 other NFL caliber running backs in college, and he actually played more than, I mean, when he did play, when Jordan got hurt at the end of the season, he came in and played that bowl game, and he had, I don't remember his exact stat line, but he had like 200 yards or something like that rushing. So if he had a chance to play more in college, I don't think he would have made it to day 3. I mean, what an amazing athletic profile he has. And part of that is that he's like 230 pounds on top of, running 4.3.
Yeah. I mean, he's an incredible athlete. I made a mistake. He is not my highest owned player. He's my second highest owned player. The highest owned player we have not gotten to him yet. Because I've been taking him in the 17th round like every time. So we'll get to that in. I only said we're going to do the first 15 rounds, but I'll show you who that is and maybe get your stamp of approval. So 14th round, 2 more rounds to go, then we'll do a best ball draft. Quentin Johnson, then Ray Davis, Sam Darnold, Mike Gesicki, Rico Doodle, as we call him here on the show, because there's we had one co-host on one time. And he called him Doodle by accident, so he just kept going with it. Tyler Algier, Wan'Dale Robinson, Anthony Richardson, Mason Taylor, Pat Fryermuth, Romeo Doubs, and Xavier Legette to close out round 14. So to me, a lot of great potential backup running backs here who can maybe start. So what do you think about this round?
Yeah, the 2 who stand out to me are Dowdle and Algier. I mean, Algier, I think, is he's in the same mold as Guerendo when it comes to being a potential league winner.
Yeah.
If anything happens to Bijan, Algier is going to get almost all of the carries. Like if Bijan Robinson tore an ACL right now, walk into his fridge to get some orange juice, I think Tyler Algier tomorrow morning is getting drafted in the 2nd round. I truly believe that.
Agreed,
because he's been good, when given the opportunity. And then Dowdle, the Panthers run the ball really well. And Chuba Hubbard's been good. Obviously, they're not going to have Brooks this year. And I know they drafted ETN on day 3. But I think, if something happens to Hubbard, Dowdle could step in and maybe not be a league winner. I think I'm not going to go there with him, but I think he could have some pretty good weeks. Algier is a lock.
I love Algier. He's my 4th highest owned player. I'll read off my top 10 once we get through round 15. Mike Gesicki, if I need a tight end, he's sometimes my tight end 1. I like to wait on tight end, but yeah, sometimes I take him. And then another running back, Ray Davis, just because there are rumors that James Cook might be traded, like he sold his house. Maybe that's maybe he just wants to move somewhere else in Buffalo. Like who knows? But there are rumors that he could be dealt. So Ray Davis kind of intrigues me too.
Yeah.
Okay, so all right, round 15. We start with Brenton Strange, Kareem Hunt, DeAndre Hopkins, Braylon Allen, Alec Pierce, Kate Otten, Cedric Tillman, Joshua Palmer, Hunter Henry, Dylan Sampson, Jalen Wright, and Keenan Allen, who's currently a free agent. So what do you think about this round 15?
Yeah, so again, I'm looking at some of the running backs here. Jalen Wright really intrigues me. I know I talked about the Dolphins offense and wanting to sort of, avoid. I'm not drafting Mina Kimes here, and I think that's kind of early for her.
I know I used to bring that because sorry, Cassandra's bringing that up because we had some drama today. I quote tweeted Mina Kimes saying thanks for ruining Around the Horn, and so she quote tweeted me, and like all of her beta simps started replying to me, and they kind of like boosted that post. I think that post that I made where I said thanks for ruining the show, I think it has 706,000 views. So it went a little viral. I just had a lot of fun. I'm just trolling. Yeah, that's all I do on Twitter is just troll. So Mina Kimes is Walt's new girlfriend. Exactly. Yeah, that was so funny. How that went out today. Of course, like the beta sims always jump in like every single time. Like it's so predictable.
Anyway. Well, I don't know if anybody else watches ESPN anymore. I mentioned I used to work there, and people will ask me about it, and they're like, "Oh, you must love watching ESPN." And I always tell them, I literally don't watch ESPN unless there's a game on that I need to watch on ESPN because it's obsolete. When I was a kid, I'd have to watch SportsCenter to see if my team won.
Yeah.
Now I can pick up my phone or, do any number of other things where I see highlights, see the score in like 3 seconds. And then everything else on ESPN is just talking heads yelling at each other about nonsense. Yeah. So all right. Sorry. Didn't mean to get off topic.
No. I love this conversation. I feel the same way. Obviously, you have to watch the games. There's no other way to do it. I guess you can stream it, but it's just less convenient. But yeah, I mean, look, back in the day, when I was, I assume we're there about the same age. So I just watched, SportsCenter was epic. They had Rich Eisen and Dan Patrick and Stuart Scott, like are they all these like legendary guys? Chris Berman would sometimes do it. Chris Berman, Tom Jackson do NFL Primetime, which was great. And then when PTI started, I loved PTI at the beginning. And I haven't watched PTI in a while, but Around the Horn, I used to watch like every day for like 4 or 5 years, like when they had like Jay Mariotti and Woody Page, who by the way called me a mushroom in dank darkness. He said that once. And they TJ Simers, the late TJ Simers, and Bob Ryan, and I felt like they used to have like a lot of good reporters on there whose opinion I would like to listen to. But then they started having these sham sports journalists who were just terrible. So I totally agree. It's become so unwatchable outside of the games. I never have ESPN on anymore. It's just gotten so bad.
Yeah, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. It started with like when you're talking about an era where we used to be able to watch Roy Firestone would be on Up Close and he'd be interviewing someone. And you'd have Edge NFL Matchup was more prominently featured back then, where you'd see film study of NFL games, and it was awesome. And you're right, when PTI and Around the Horn started, it must have been like close to 30 years ago now. It was still like, it was almost kind of like that Sunday morning show. It was like real journalism, or I don't remember what the Sunday, what I'm talking about, right? They had some Sunday morning, the sports reporters, that's what it was called.
Yes, yeah, you're right.
And I feel like it's evolved into like who can talk the loudest and yell about nonsense. I'll leave it here. I won't go off on a rant here, but this is going back like 15 years now. Somebody was asking Stephen A. Smith about what was more impressive, some NBA, winning streak, or the Chicago Blackhawks unbeaten streak. And I'm a big hockey guy. I don't really know which one's more important because I don't watch basketball anymore. but he's like, you can't call the Blackhawks streak more impressive in a sport where you have ties. They've tied all these games, and that doesn't count as an unbeaten streak. And I'm watching this thinking the NHL got rid of ties 5 years ago, and you're on ESPN saying this. But all right, sorry, I will move on from that. But,
That's great. That's great. That's typical Stephen A. Smith. But I used to, like, long time ago, when I was actually still in college, I had an internship at the Westchester Daily Local. I was writing about high school sports back then, and the woman editor there, she's for some reason we started talking about Stephen A. Smith. She's like, I can't stand Stephen A. Smith. I'm like, why? Just what he says on TV. She's like, no, I worked with him at the Philadelphia Inquirer, and he used to, or one of the Philadelphia papers. She was like, he used to submit his article at the 11th hour, and all the grammar was wrong. And like, I just had so much editing to do whenever he sent an article. I hated working with him. I just thought that was just a funny story that she shared. It was a long time ago. I think it was 2005 when I worked there. So 20 years ago. Feels like yesterday. Yeah, that's yeah, he's been so bad now. FX1 is better, says John Sanders. Not a high bar, but better. Yeah, it's pretty low bar. Cassandra says this morning, replied to your initial post. I saw that. I was busy all day, and then my Twitter was going insane. Got back, my post had 50 likes and 10,000 views. Couldn't figure out what was going on. Yeah, Mina Kimes quote tweeted me, and then all her beta simps chimed in. It was so funny. Sue says Bad Beats, originated by Nick McKay. Now that was good TV. I wanted to make a Bad Beats book because I felt like this past year, just so many bad beats of gambling. I just haven't had the time, with the two kids and stuff. But maybe once I finish up my season previews and stuff, I also want to start like a daily video on here, like 6 minutes long or something. Kenny and I were talking about that. It's like maybe do that. So look out for that, guys, I guess. And then John's saying, was that pre or post lockout?
The ties?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's been so long now. I think they got rid of it with that CBA that came back after the lost season, but I'm not even 100% sure at this point anymore.
And speaking of Communicoms' beta simps, thanks for chiming in. It's like perfect timing. Thank you, Dad. All right, we're around 15. I think I'm looking at Alec Pierce. I hate him in regular fantasy, but in best ball, he has like 3 or 4 games a year where he just goes nuts. So I like Unicom's cooked you. How she just quotes you to me. Like she just said she's like nice timeline, and she posted a tweet I made like back in September. Like that's not even a timeline. Like so she did not cook me at all. Anyway, yeah, no, I like Pierce in best ball. Some other guys like here are Cedric Tillman too. Like whenever it wasn't Deshaun Watson or Dorian Thompson-Robinson last year, like i.e. Jameson Winston, so he performed pretty well. And as long as Flacco's the quarterback, I kind of like Tillman. Like the problem is like, what if it's like Dylan Gabriel or Kenny Pickett? Like that's an issue for me. But Braylon Allen as well. What do you think about those guys? Or do you see anyone else in round 15 before we move on?
Yeah, I mean, Cedric Tillman, this is only his 3rd year. And he was hurt his last year of college. So, he's certainly someone who could take even another step forward this year. But I'm with you, hopefully Pickett's not starting. Hopefully it's Flacco starting for fantasy purposes. And then, I like some of the other guys you mentioned. I like Jalen Wright. I just think that that offense isn't great, but he was our top running back in last year's class. Fell out of the top 100, although the Dolphins gave up a 2025 3rd-round pick to draft him in the 4th round.
Mm-hmm.
So they like him. He's the type of guy where A-Chain's always hurt. Mostert's gone. They drafted Ollie Gordon, but that was I believe a 6th-round pick. That was late. So he's a guy like, and then sticking kind of with the Cedric Tillman theme of kind of taking yet another step forward. I don't mind Cade Otton there either. He had some really big games last year when the receivers were hurt. I mean, like really big games. So, I know that's that's kind of a crowded receiving group. But, if you're looking for a tight end who could hit your lineup a few times and has a chance to potentially break out and, be a top 5 or 6 tight end, I don't mind him that late.
Yeah. I like gotten there. I just entered a draft, so we'll do that once this fills. As we wait, I'm gonna read off the top 10 most owned players I have so far, and you can tell me if I'm just way off on some of them. So I'm kind of embarrassed about one because like it's the 20th round, but no, my 10th, I'll go 10 to 1. 10 is Brock Purdy. Like I said, he's like my stacking option with one of those Niners receivers. Number 9, here's the one I'm embarrassed about. Marquez Valdes-Scantling, because I've taken him in the 20th round every time. Well, not every time. He's 41% owned. Because he's gonna have 2 or 3 games where he goes insane, and that's what you're looking for in best ball. Like in the 20th round, like what else are you gonna draft? Number 8, I'll stop at 5, and you can tell me when the 10 to 6. Number 8 is Isaiah Pacheco. As I said, going way too late there. Number 7, I didn't realize I had him this much. JJ McCarthy, just because I've drafted a lot of Jefferson or Addison, and I've just paired them with McCarthy. And then number 6, another very late guy. We're going to need a third tight end, Theo Johnson, number 6. What do you hate there?
No, I don't hate any of that. I mean, first of all, you're a Penn State guy, so I get getting Theo Johnson. I know that's a late round pick you're getting there. But with Valdes-Scantling, I think that's what you want to be doing late in best ball drafts, right? You have too many people who get to those late rounds and they're taking like a 4th string running back who's never going to play. Mm-hmm. Like, even if the starter gets not a 4th string running, I'm exaggerating, but you know what I mean? They're taking someone who's like not going to play and doesn't have that high of an upside, even if he does play. Like, I don't know if Zamir White gets drafted in these leagues, but that's just the first guy that came to my head. Like, I wouldn't want to waste a roster spot on him because he's never going to play.
Right.
You get a guy like Valdes-Scantling. If he hits your lineup 3 times, that's a win.
Yeah.
And he's got speed. We saw he had a couple of big games with the Saints last year. So. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. By the way, John says you made it big. People are really into not letting women vote thing. I didn't even say that. I didn't say women should vote. I said women would be better off not voting. So that's not. It's way different. Anyway, going 5 to 1. Let me see. So DeAndre Swift, talk about him too with the Ben Johnson running backs. By the way, we didn't get to Roshan Johnson. He's another guy like very late. He's like 17th round ADP. Number 4, Juwan Jennings. So I've been pretty on him. Number 3, Tyler Algier. Number 2, as we discussed, Isaac Guerrero. And my number 1 guy, like I said, 17th round, very late, Tyler Higbee. Just because Cooper Kupp's gone, I need a second tight end usually. I feel like Stafford loves throwing to him. He's gonna be healthy. So, what do you think about those top 5?
Yeah, Higbee's healthy. It's just going to be a matter of whether or not he holds off Ferguson. Of course, Ferguson's a rookie.
Mm-hmm.
So, I see we're getting started here. What's this? The 4th pick?
Yeah, we have the 4th pick. So we're guaranteed one of Chase, Barkley, Jefferson, or Robinson. I don't know if you have a preference of those guys. I know that you mentioned receivers being higher in your board. So. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, look, you first of all, this is your team, so your vote counts for more than mine. Okay. And then in addition to that, I just got out of NFL draft mode, which was a lot of my time, and then I'm now in dynasty rookie draft mode. So my redraft chart isn't even filled out all the way yet. So your vote counts for more. How do you usually start with like one of these high volume receivers, or do you not really care who you start with?
I think I order it this way in Barkley, Chase, Jefferson, and then Robinson. I like to go receiver early, just like you do, but I feel like Barkley's just a special sort of player in that offense. And part of it was, which has turned out not to be the case, I thought that the tush push might be banned, and so I thought Barkley could get more touchdowns. Now that's not the case anymore. So, I do wonder if I would go Chase over Barkley. We did a draft last night, and I took Chase over Barkley. So I don't necessarily think that like Barkley is the number 1 guy anymore. But the Eagles are a great team, amazing offensive line. He's a fantastic player. But I don't think you can go wrong with the any of these top four guys. So we'll see how it goes. Like I said, we're guaranteed one of them. So the draft has begun. So it's 30 seconds per pick. Chase goes first. So it's usually Chase or Barkley. I have sometimes gotten Barkley, although he did not go here. So we're getting one of the running backs apparently.
Okay. Nice.
Which is usually I start with receiver, but so Barkley goes. So you think Bijan over Gibbs, Lamb? Although you like Lamb a lot. So what do you think?
I like Bijan as well. I mean, okay. I think any of those top three are certainly worth a shot there.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll go with Bijan to start, and then we'll see what happens. I feel like receiver, as I said before, really dries up. So I like to get at least 5 receivers in the first 8 rounds.
Now, let me ask you, and along those lines, do you have like a set parameter for your roster construction, like in terms of exactly how many quarterbacks, running backs, receivers, and tight ends you like to roster?
Yeah. So usually I call it Ellie, which is 3773. I will not walk away from a draft without at least 3 quarterbacks and 3 tight ends because, in best ball, you can't, like, if you get injuries, you can't add anyone. So if there's an injury, suddenly you're down to 2, and then a bye week happens, and like you only have 1 quarterback at that point. Whereas like if you have 2 quarterbacks, one gets hurt, you only have 1, and then you take a 0 on a bye week. I think that's like a disaster. So you need at least 3 quarterbacks, 3 tight ends. And then it's 3773 or sometimes 3683. I want at least 6 receivers. If it's like 3593, I'm like, I don't love that, but I'm okay with it too. So that's how you should be. Like 3773 or 3683 is usually what I go with.
That makes sense. My daughter's name is Elle, by the way. So
nice. There you go. Nice. So anything stand out to you in the first round? I mean, it's kind of like it goes by ADP. I feel like a lot of people here don't think outside the box and just go with like ADP. Although Devon Achane a little earlier than usual, 201.
Yeah, and I mean that's way too high for Genty. I don't know how you can take him there over. I mean, Puka Nacua is going to have 1,500 yards receiving. Malik Neighbors had no quarterback at all and was still absolutely phenomenal last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think that stands out to me as a reach.
Yeah. I mean, what you said before with Genty, I just don't get it. Nico Collins, a little later than usual, 203. I like him. And yeah, Achane is a question mark. Like I said before, I don't know what to make of McCaffrey now, just with all the injuries. Like I feel like he's gonna be amazing or he's gonna be awful. It's just like one of those. I have no idea what to make of it.
Yeah, I feel like that's baked in though to his ADP here.
Yeah,
because if you're getting him at the 1-2 turn, I mean that's not bad. It's not like you're having to spend the 3rd or 4th pick on him anymore, or the 1st or 2nd pick in recent years.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, obviously he was going 101 or 102 last year. Drake London goes. We are up in 3 picks. I'm going to switch to the players page after this selection. We'll see what the Genty guy does, but Brock Bowers went 204. We did a draft a couple nights ago when Brock Bowers. Some guy took Brock Bowers at 112, and then he took TJ Hawkinson round 7. I'm like, I don't quite understand that that decision making. All right, so we are up in 2 picks. Jonathan Taylor, AJ Brown, Josh Allen, Bucky Irving, Josh Jacobs, Trey McBride, T. Higgins are the top guys. I assume you like Higgins or maybe Brown. Irving just went.
You're right. That's exactly what I was thinking. Who do you like?
Well, I don't think there's a slight chance Higgins falls to us at 3 or 4. Whereas like we can't get Brown, so I'm inclined to take Brown. But if you like Higgins more, I would take him.
I think they're in the same group. I mean, you're putting a stud receiver into your lineup. It's a coin flip as to who's going to have a better season this year. And Higgins is hurt a lot too.
That's true. Yeah. All right, let's go with Brown and hope that Higgins falls to us at 3 or 4. I don't think it's going to happen, but there's a very, very slight chance that it does happen. You sometimes see some bizarre things happen in these drafts. So we have our first quarterback off the board, Josh Allen, who, like, we didn't really talk about him, or I guess we didn't talk about him at all. Where would you take Josh Allen's? I assume he's your top quarterback. If not, tell me otherwise. But like, where would you take Josh Allen this year?
Yeah, I just never end up with the top quarterback. I just don't, because I typically have those guys in the fourth round. Even the top ones. Just in my rationale is we've had years where guys just come out of nowhere and they're top. There was Higgins. They're top, 4 or 5 quarterbacks. Like Sam Darnold last year was up there. Matthew Stafford's had QB1 years in the not so recent past. 2 years ago, I believe Dak Prescott was quarterback 1 overall. It happens. Whereas, you're not going to see some random running back just all of a sudden, ascend to running back 1 or, a receiver to wide receiver 1. So who are you thinking there? Do you like the quarterbacks here? I mean, third round.
No, not really. So you mentioned Harrison before. I don't really have him much. So you take him. There's Wilson, Smith, and Jigba. I usually draft Smith and Jigba, but I mean, you seem to like Marvin Harrison Jr. a lot too. So I'm not opposed to taking him here. So who do you like here? We have like 15 seconds, 10 seconds.
I do like Harrison. This is your team. I want you to overrule me, but your vote counts for more than mine.
All right, well, we have 2 seconds. I'll take Harrison. Like I said, I don't have much exposure to him, if at all. So we'll take Harrison here. And now that we know the buys, it's definitely useful to look at that, because I was drafting before the NFL draft on here, and like no one knows what the buys were. Like no one knew where the rookies were going. It was like a complete mess, like mayhem. I'm like almost scared to look at those teams and just be like, oh, all your quarterbacks in the same buy. I'm like, oh man, yeah, I feel like that's something that could happen. We had a couple of comments here. People are agreeing with me for the wrong reasons. My point was no one watches ESPN, no matter what show Mina's on or not. And also, I effing hate Mina Kimes. Nice. Glad to hear that. I've apparently never heard of this Kimes chick. Apparently, that's a good thing. Yeah, I think you're better off not knowing about her. Don't even bother looking her up. She'll if you listen to her opinions, she'll tell you that Geno Smith is a great quarterback. I think she called him the top 10 quarterback, I believe, when he was traded. I don't know if that's exactly how she worded it, but like she was devastated because she's a Seahawks fan. And she was like devastated that he was traded, and she said he was the top quarterback of some sort. And I was like, top quarterback? I even like that night I ranked all the quarterbacks in the league to kind of see where Geno Smith was. Like I forget who our co-host was that night. Like I'm saying, like, would you rather have this guy over Geno Smith? Would you rather have that guy over Geno Smith? And like most of it was yes. And like he ended up being like, I had him as my 22nd quarterback, and the other guy, the co-host, had him as his 21st quarterback in the league. So not bad by any means, but he's like slightly below average. Maybe if you want to be super bullish, he's just average. I don't know. Where would you put Geno Smith?
I'm a little bit higher on him only because I think he's better in domes, and now he's in a situation where he's going to play almost all of his games in a dome. Mm-hmm. Certainly I'm not saying top 10. I'm not going there. But I don't know. I think he'll be interesting to see. I think he's got a chance to be. I kind of look at it like this. I think he could very easily be better than Derek Carr was. That's not a very high bar, though.
Yeah, seriously. I'd probably put them in the same group. Maybe a little bit better than Derek Carr. Derek Carr is always like bad in the red zone.
Oh, terrible in the red zone. Yeah. I mean, I would just draft the Raiders kicker every single year.
That's true.
And actually, Blake Grupe was like he was my kicker the last 2-3 years or whatever it's been. And it worked out because I would literally sit there and laugh while I was watching these games. Like, ours in the red zone. Kicking a field goal.
That's unfortunately you can't do that anymore because he's retired. Although I've heard speculation that he will unretire at some point. We'll see. We're up in 2 picks, so let's switch. Is Breece Hall, Joe Mixon, Burrow, Hampton? We know we don't like him. There's Hurts, to pair with Brown. There's Sutton, Hubbard. What are you thinking here?
I like Hurts. I also love those top 2 running backs. I mean, Joe Mixon, he's got Woody Marks behind him and nothing else. Yeah. And that offensive line is upgraded. He was really good last year. I don't know why he's still going in the 4th round. I guess it's just because of his age.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I think he's going way too late, and I don't know if you looked at the schedules yet, but I believe his late season schedule is very easy too. So he stood out to me. So I'm definitely cool with taking Mixon here as our RB2. So let's go with Mixon, and who knows, maybe Hurts will fall to us. Probably not, but there's always a chance that he does. So anything stand out to you in round 4 outside of McMillan? I mean, McMillan round 405. We were talking about 501 being early for him. 405. And this Dwayne McBride drafter here loves his rookies. He took Hunter and McMillan. So
Dwayne McBride's not winning this league. And I mean, I guess 11 people aren't winning this league, right? It's 11, 12-team league, right?
Yeah.
So this is what happens in May. I see this playing so much Dynasty. I see this every year. People go rookie crazy. He drafted Travis Hunter as a top 16 wide receiver. What are the chances Trevor Lawrence is supporting, wide receiver 4 and Brian Thomas, and wide receiver 16 and Hunter? It's almost 0.
Yeah, I agree. By the way, quarterbacks here, Burrow and Hurts available.
Love that.
Yeah, me too. I would take Burrow 5th round every time. Hurts 5th round every time.
Yep.
If both go, and we'll see what happens with this next pick. This guy might time out. No, he took we're getting one of Burrow or Hurts. There you go. We could get. Who do you like more? No, we have a choice.
Your team. It's your team. You're taking all you.
Well, I mean, Hurts pairs us with Brown. Like that's more appealing, but at the same time, I feel like Burrow a little bit better. So I'm inclined to go with Hurts. Who would you go with?
I think in best ball, I'm going with Hurts since we have AJ Brown.
Yeah. Okay.
But I mean, I don't think you can go wrong there. I love Joe Burrow in any format this year.
Yeah, I got him one draft at 505. I refuse to draft a quarterback in the first 4 rounds, unless like what if Josh Allen falls to me late 3rd? Then I'll take him there. But first 4 rounds I don't draft the quarterback. Burrow, by the way, now 506, 507. Did he get hurt or something in the past hour? I don't get like why he's going so late. He's always going. There we go. The guy who took Jaden Daniels also took Joe Burrow. So I don't quite like this Chris Long 62-485 team. This looks ugly. I mean, like you have Genty as a reach, and then you have like one of Daniels or Burrow is not going to be in his lineup each week.
Yeah.
So that's pretty rough. I do love McConkey, but still.
McConkey's great. Mike Evans, though, he's another one of these guys where I've always loved Mike Evans, but he's I think 32 in August.
Yeah.
And I'm with John Sanders right here. I'm taking Burrow. I'm taking Higgins. I'm taking Chase. I'm taking Chase Brown. Chase Brown's not even that good, but he's going to catch 100 passes. He might not catch 100 passes, but he's going to catch 70 passes or something like that if he stays healthy, just because they need to score every time they touch the ball because their defense being so bad.
It's so bad. And their interior blocking is not good either. It's like that's an issue too. Here we go. Beta male simp. Good look for you, Mike. Real stand-up guy to be associated with. I don't know if we want to say anything to that, but that's these guys it's so funny. It's I don't know. It's kind of pathetic, but it's still funny. Hall was going top 5 last year. It's possible he's being underdrafted. What do you think about Breece Hall? He's underdrafted this year.
Yeah, he's another one. I think he's going to end up getting moved before the end of the year. You look at all the moves the Jets have made this offseason. They're plugging in placeholder free agents and playing for 2026. They're not telling the fan base that, obviously. But, they had that talk where, we want to do the running back by committee. I think really what's going on there is they realize Breece Hall's most valuable to an NFL team while he's still on his rookie deal right now. So I think that's why those trade rumors popped up. And I think they'll pop up again when they're, terrible in October.
Yeah, which makes me like Braylon Allen more. The one thing about Hall, though, is that with mobile quarterbacks, they throw to them less because they just take off. So, he's not going to get his receptions this year. All right, we're up in 2 picks. I'd rather go receiver here than running back because we need receivers. We start 3 in this, but I don't know if you knew that. But we have Jordan Addison, Juwan Jennings as the top receiver. Olave, if you like him, Jacoby Myers. who just went. Jawan Jennings just went, so forget about him. Is anyone stand out to you, or?
Well, you got to take your guy Addison here, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I love Adunze. This is your team, though. I like Addison too. I think, he's still an ascending player as well. He's in a great offense.
You know what? I don't have much of Dunze at all, and you've talked me into him. So let's go Dunze, and who knows? Maybe Addison will fall back to us.
Well, Adunze could fall to us too. There are a lot of people down. I saw somebody tweeting about it. It was like, well, if you look at every receiver picked in the top 10, we're on. You should take Addison here. Yeah,
I should take Addison. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
That's your guy. And,
yeah.
But with Adunze, I saw somebody. The fantasy football community is hilarious to me because you got a bunch of like 25-year-olds who all think that they're reinventing the game and creating all these models that NFL teams, haven't thought of, even though they're billion-dollar, companies. Anyway, somebody was tweeting the other day. Yeah, if you look at every receiver who's got under 750 yards as a rookie and under 5 touchdowns as a rookie, none of them have ever been good. And it's like, yeah, but when you pop that up to 780 yards or something like that, like Calvin Johnson and Larry Fitzgerald are there.
Yeah. It's what we call data mining.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I always, I don't know. That's always it's pretty rough when that kind of stuff happens and you can easily disprove it. I don't see why Adunze would bust. I mean, it was a crowded receiving room last year. Like Keenan Allen was there to take up so many targets. Now he's gone. So
that kind of had a rookie quarterback with a poor coaching staff.
Adunze went. Yeah. So unfortunately, we have to look at someone else. There's Olave, Myers, Cooper Kupp. Just kidding. We're up now. What do you think?
I don't mind. Olave is very interesting. Olave is interesting, and Judkins is interesting to me.
Yeah, I agree with Judkins. Although we have 2 running backs, I feel like we can get Pacheco next round or something.
Okay.
So Olave, you like Olave more here than anyone else?
Yeah. I mean, again, terrible offense, but he's another guy who could end up getting traded.
Yeah, and I said this before a few times, in recent episodes. It looks shaky with the quarterbacking situation, but when you have bad or rookie quarterbacks, they tend to lock in on the number 1 receiver. So I feel like he would get more targets than usual. And I think that the guy who's hurt the most in that offense is Rashid Shaheed, just because he's the downfield threat. He's the number 2 receiver. I agree with what you said before. He's going to have some big games, but I think he's going to be far less consistent than he was last year.
And this is the guy who was going in the top 2 rounds the last 2 years. And I know that you get a quarterback downgrade with, most likely Tyler Shuck, but how much of a downgrade is that really? I mean, if you look at a lot of last year, Derek Carr wasn't very good. And then you had Spencer Rattler, who just wasn't ready to play at all. So, as a wide receiver 3 here, I think that's good value.
Yeah, he's definitely good value in 7th round. The only concern I have with Olave is the concussions. But I mean, anyone can get hurt, and at round 7, it's not like we're still drafting him in round 3. He's round 7 now, so there's far less risk involved here. So our guys, Judkins and Myers, both went. So not a surprise that they didn't come around, and we have a long time to wait here. We did have a response here. How ironic, pathetic. LMAO, you have 0 self-awareness. So, oh, my sweet summer child. Imagine simping for a bad ESPN reporter. It's pretty bad. Nepal, I guess. He does not look like he's going to be league winner either, taking Jalen Waddle and Cooper Kupp back to back here. Who's the rest of his picks? So St. Brown, Henry. I think Ridley too early there. Yeah. I don't mind Ridley 7th round, but 5th round. We didn't get your take on Ridley. What do you think about him?
Yeah, I don't mind Ridley, but he's 30 plus years old now, and you're pairing him with Waddle, who's had 2 really down years. Cooper Kupp, who looked like toast second half of last year. I'm not seeing a lot of upside. A lot of times to win a league like this, you've got to kind of find somebody in these middle rounds who's going to jump up and be, a first or second round pick next year.
Oh yeah. Yeah, or it should be a like a Chris Olave, for example. Like, like you said, he was going second, third round before. Isaiah Pacheco just went, by the way. So did Swift. So it's a good thing we have 2 running backs already, because I'd be a little worried. I guess there's still Tyron Tracy, and then I don't know who else. Maybe Najee Harris, but yeah, we're okay at running back. I think. I kind of like the double hero and then drafting a bunch of those sleeper guys that we were talking about before in best ball. I mean, Cam Scatterbo went 805.
Yeah, it's Dwayne McBride, though. It's Dwayne McBride. I think Dwayne McBride has a second team in this league, and he's like, all right, they're going to cancel this tournament if we make it look like, it's collusion. So I'm going to make it look like I just like rookies.
I always wonder about that. I really do. Before we keep trashing his team, let's decide who we're taking. So what are you thinking here? We're up in 1 pick. I'm going to start these guys. Tyron Tracy, you like Josh Downs. And we do need, I'd rather have a 5th receiver than a 3rd running back at this point. What do you think?
I like the Colts here. I like Downs and I like Warren. I'm not expecting Warren to be Brock Bowers, but again, I think there's a guy who's going to get rushing touchdowns some weeks. And of course, he's not going to have,
Josh Downs went. Josh Downs went, unfortunately.
I mean, I don't know how you feel about Warren. I know he's a rookie tight end.
Yeah.
I like him, but
okay.
What are you thinking here?
I'm kind of like, I'm lukewarm on him. I love his talent. I just, being a rookie, but I'll take him. I mean, he was our next guy up, and then we have some time to figure out what we're going to do with a receiver. Cause like I said, I want a 5th receiver out of the first 8 rounds, but this is technically almost like 8 rounds. 904 is like pretty close. So we have Higgins, Pittman, I guess, talk about him. You said Bateman before. There is Mooney. Anyone else stand out to you here?
I think the last time I was on your show, I was talking up Mooney, and then the guy had like 0 catches for the rest of the year. They benched Kirk Cousins, and it was like that's the end of him. But no, I think Pittman is in a different tier than Rashad Bateman. I like Higgins too. Of course, he's a rookie, but I don't mind him this late. It's a good offense to be a part of, especially with no Diggs and Tank Dell this year.
Yeah. Who would you take here personally? I mean, I have my own decision, but
I think I would take Higgins only based on the offense, but it's a coin toss.
Between who?
Higgins and Pittman. I would go Higgins just based on the offense. But who would you take?
Well, I was looking at buys, and we have 11 and a 6. I don't mind Pittman. I think Higgins has more upside though. So let's go Higgins.
Take your guy. Your vote counts for more than mine here.
I know, but like you're a valued guest on the show. I really respect your opinion, and like I definitely have more Pittman than Higgins, so I wouldn't mind getting more exposure to him. So Nino Kimes knows more ball than you, and it haunts you at night. Yes, I toss and turn in my sleep. I wake up in cold sweats like Nino Kimes knows more than me. Yes, that's exactly what I do every night. Yeah, she knows more ball, sure. Dwayne McBride really going for the rookies, yeah. Let's trash Dwayne McBride's team. So he started strong with Thomas in London, and then when Hunter, McMillan, Henderson, Caleb Johnson, Quinshon Judkins. I actually think the Judkins pick is good. And then
that was fine.
Yeah, that was a good pick. And you said you liked Henderson too. So the 2 Ohio State guys, we don't mind there. Otherwise, this looks pretty rough. But maybe you're right. Maybe he is trying to make it not completely obvious that he's setting up another team in this league, which he's. In fairness, he's setting up the other 10 teams as well, so including us, which I don't mind. I don't mind that at all because it makes us more likely to win if we escape with the top 2 seed after this regular season's over. So
yeah,
The issue is I always wonder if like 12 guys would ever collude and like just like make a monster team or something, but that would make it too obvious, right?
It's happened, and leagues have been canceled because of that.
Have they really? Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know
Oh, yeah.
that.
And that's even, it's not best ball, but in that FFPC
Mhm.
tournament that I'm telling you about. So the way it's set up is you play in a regular just redraft league where you set your lineups. But then at the end of that, so there's no trading or anything like that, though, because they're worried about collusion. And then when you get to the end of week 14 is your league championship game. All the teams that win the championship go into this pool of all of the teams, sort of like these best ball tournaments,
Yeah, yeah.
where it's week 15, 16, and 17 acts as like a best ball tournament. And if you finish in first place, you win $1 million. If you finish in second place, you win like $500,000. I was in second place a few years ago, going into the 4 o'clock games of week 17.
Oh my God.
I ended up finishing like 30th or something like that
Uh-huh.
because the Monday night game was the Bills and Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs just like absolutely lit it up, and I didn't have them. But that was the year Alvin Kamara had 6 touchdowns on Christmas Day. And I'm
Okay.
sitting there on Christmas like, oh my God, I'm like in 7th place in this tournament. But
Oh
yeah,
man,
so leagues
that's
like
great.
that get canceled sometimes when people try to collude.
Yeah, I feel like it would happen. Definitely a lot more in that sort of format, but I imagine it's definitely happened here. So I've never heard of best ball being canceled, but I haven't really like looked into it either. By the way, our friend Dwayne did not take a rookie in round 9. He took Michael Pittman Jr. But then he went back to a rookie with Tootin.
Going back to the well.
That's right. That's right. You gotta stick to your strategy. He's probably this 908 probably haunted him. He's like, oh man, I can't believe I took a non-rookie. I got to go back. Yeah, he could have
And I
taken
don't
love. He
mind
could take
taking
Loveland.
rookies. You just can't take rookies with every pick from rounds
Right,
3 to 7 or something like that, you know?
right, right. I don't know. Maybe he's just having a good time. He's just like, hey, I want to cheer for rookies. He's probably drunk. He's like, I want to cheer for rookies. Like, so yeah. Let's see here. We're up in one pick. So let's start here. We need a quarterback, I think, because these quarterbacks tend to disappear after like round 13. And we talked about like some of these other picks here were not impressive. So there's Prescott, Love, May, McCarthy, Lawrence, Penix, Tua, Stafford, Cam Ward. That's probably it. So what are you thinking here?
Yeah, I love Dak. I know he's really controversial, though. I think you should pick the quarterback.
Okay. I don't mind Dak. I don't have too much of him, and like of all the quarterbacks, he's less likely to make it back to us. If we take Dak, I would maybe try to get Jake Ferguson too, because I mean we're not getting Lamb or Pickens at this point. But yeah, let's go with Dak, and then let's look at the overall big board for our 11th round pick. There's Evan Ingram, Trey Harris, ATN, and Njoku. You mentioned Njoku before. Love, May, Stevenson, McCarthy, Blue, Mims, Coleman, Kraft, Lawrence, Likely, Batch, Kincaid, Goddard. Can go to onward, but like anyone stand out to you here? We're up in 4 picks.
You know, I like Ingram and Njoku up there, but I know we already drafted a tight end. So,
Yeah,
you know, I don't know if that's too early for you to go tight end again. You've done
yeah.
more of these drafts this year. So who are you looking at here?
Well, I would think probably a third quarterback because in round 12 I like to go with Gorendo. I just go back to the quarterbacks here. We have the stacking option. Oh, McCarthy went. Never mind. Who are receivers? We have Brown. We have Harrison. So Murray's gone. Addison. There's Olave. I don't want to take a Saints quarterback. And then
You don't want to take Spencer Rattler here?
Spencer the Silver Snake Rattler. No, I don't really want to do that. Because we don't have any stacking options here. I'm more inclined to take Drake May because he could always get there on his own with rushing, and so you don't have to worry about that. What do you think about that?
I love that. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
All right, let's go Drake May, and then start drafting sleeper running backs because we have 5 receivers. We do want a second tight end at some point soon, though. But I didn't want one in this round. I don't like 2 tight ends in the first 11 rounds. That's just not my style.
And we don't have a Patriots receiver yet, but I mean, the Patriots receivers I would imagine their ADPs are pretty low. So we have the potential to, and I'm not talking about Diggs, but we have the potential to kind of stack one of those others like Kyle Williams. I don't know. Does Polk go in like the 18th round? I'm guessing 19th round.
Something like that. I actually haven't seen him drafted. Honestly, I can't remember. So yeah, Kyle Williams too, like you said. Let's see. Congrats on getting clicks from Mina. You are a pathetic loser. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate getting all the clicks. Is so great. You're the one trashing women on Twitter because you're insecure. I wouldn't say I trashed women. I just trashed women. I only trashed one woman. 13 viewers.
That is much different.
Yeah, exactly. 13 viewers really popping off. We have 3,300 viewers, 3,344 it says here. Most of which on Twitter, by the way, but because we have way more followers on Twitter. I've had 2 DraftKings $3 canceled this year. Interesting. I didn't notice anything nefarious. Okay, that's interesting. I didn't know that they did that, but it's cool to get some confirmation there. All right, so our Dwayne friend guy took Lawrence, by the way. So he could have taken Cam Ward, but he ditched his rookie quarterback or rookie player strategy once again.
Yeah, this is James Gladstone. He also traded his 2026 first round best ball pick to get all these Jaguars.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, that's like, yeah, he's actually just best ball drafting with us. He's what if he's like listening to this show too? He's like, what do you mean my bad picks? I took all rookies. They're great. Nepal took 3 quarterbacks in a row. Okay, there's 3 quarterbacks. I was kind of monitoring him because he had some bad picks too with Waddle and Kupp and Ridley at 5'11". Tua is not a great pick, I don't think. I do like Tracy though. Hawkinson's fine at 802, so not completely bad. I just don't really like this team overall.
Not enough upside.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so yeah, we're in the middle of the 12th round now. Marvin Mims, who you like, just won 11-12. Penix is going, so we're up in 3 picks. So let's make sure Garendo's still there, just to start him. He's actually the top running back. That kind of scares me that he can go. Otherwise, what'd you say?
I thought he got picked. I saw him disappear, but it's just because he got into the queue.
Yeah, he's still there. So there's also Bigsby and like any other. I mean, you mentioned Doodle before, Algier. I'm just gonna start a bunch of these guys. Kraft went. Receivers, we have Kyle Williams. There you go. So maybe with our other pick. Tight end, we're looking at Jake Ferguson too, just because we had Prescott. Rashid Shaheed just went, so we're up in 1 pick. So hopefully we get our guy. But otherwise, we have to do some brainstorming.
Yeah, I think he might actually be my top roster dynasty player.
Grendo.
Grendo, yeah. I haven't checked in a while. Just another thing here that.
Yeah, we got our guy. Nice.
Good. Ferguson obviously makes sense at tight end. Just something I'll mention just because, I don't know, we're doing a fantasy football show. Isaiah Likely is a little bit interesting just because you hear all the trade rumors about Mark Andrews. If something happens to go down with that before the season starts, I mean, we've seen spots before where Isaiah Likely really, was featured and had some huge games. Could that happen with Mark Andrews still there? That's possible too. But he's interesting. I know he's not, he's not available first of all, but he's just someone that I kind of like have my eye on as we get closer to the season.
Yeah, I think that's a good call with Likely. I think Andrews is going a little too late. It's 10:06. He played hurt at the first half of last year, and he got off to a slow start. But then he kind of picked things up. But the selling point is that he had the worst game of his career against the Bills in the divisional round, and I feel like he's probably waking up every morning just thinking like man, I have to redeem myself. And he's not that old. I think was he 28 or something? Like he's still sort of young.
I want to say he might be 30, but that's still plenty for a tight end.
Maybe you're right. You could be right. I don't know why I thought 30 or 28. He's 29 actually, so let's split the difference there. Okay, so let's see. All right, we're up right now. So I mean, we have Williams and Ferguson. Those are the two guys you're looking at. There's also Algier. So tough call. I think Doodle too. What do you think? You have 15 seconds.
I like Algier. I like, you mentioned Ferguson. I'd be fine with him. Kyle Williams is a little bit early. I know
Yeah.
Christian Work is. Yeah, let's go. Let's go with one of those guys since we're almost out of time.
All right, let's go Algier because I mean he's a league winner.
Yeah.
Like I don't think Jake Ferguson's a league winner. I feel like we could get a bunch of other tight ends who is kind of similar.
I
It was
completely.
only
I don't think there's any way Jake Ferguson's a league winner. The other guy I just wanted to bring up there, he'll be gone by our next pick, and it's fine. Yeah, he just got picked. Christian Kirk is a little bit interesting just because,
Mhm.
again, I like receivers in good offenses. You mentioned C.J. Stroud, potentially bouncing back this year. I think there's a very strong chance of that. They did a lot for their offensive line. Ursery in the second round when they traded down. They kind of plugged holes with a couple of Trent Brown's always injured, but they might get a few games out of him. They signed Cam Robinson to play left tackle. So he's interesting to me. If a guy like Jalen Noel doesn't emerge right away, I could see Christian Kirk having some big games.
Yeah, I could too. I mean, he tends to get hurt a lot, but like when he's healthy, he produces quite a bit. And where was he going last year? Wasn't he going like 8th round or something, or 7th round, 8th round, maybe 9th? Like
now he gets a huge quarterback upgrade, huge
Yeah.
offense upgrade, and he goes later.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't get that at all. I like him here too. I definitely think you're onto something there. Read some comments here. Willingly one. You literally tweeted in 2024 that you don't think women don't deserve to vote. I did not say that. That is fake news. You are wrong, sir. So congratulations on being fake news. I did say that. I'm super libertarian. I think everyone should be able to vote. But you are fake news. Jake Ferguson went 13-11. I was kind of hoping he'd come back to us. Mike Gesicki still available. I didn't star him, but I've been getting him like 13th, 14th round, so he's someone to consider too. Of course, there's Tyler Higbee. Of course, they're going to try to maybe get him in the 17th round, which I've done every time, apparently. I think like the percentage is like 75% Tyler Higbee in the 17th round. I don't know, maybe that's too high. I don't know, but like it seems like he's a safe tight end too, with some upside. Like we saw what he did in the playoffs. He had 2 great games in the playoffs. Like obviously he's not going to do that all the time, but like he has the upside games, so that's why I kind of like him.
Really it's just a matter of whether or not he has something left in the tank. But you mentioned the playoff game; he was there for that. He was fine, and we talked earlier tonight. We talked about Devontae Adams potentially falling off. Well, if he falls off, someone's going to benefit from that, and Tyler Higbee makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, for sure. Unfortunately, Ray Davis and Rico Doodle went. We're up in one. Gesicki just went. We have no starred players left, so let's kind of look. Tight ends. There's Ertz, Taylor, Freiermuth, Strange. There's Otten too. We could probably get him on the way back. And then running backs. There's Benson. Braylon Allen kind of intrigues me what you said about Hall being traded. Jalen Wright, Justice Hill, Roshan Johnson, and Will Shipley. Anyone else stand out, or we're up now? What do you think we should do?
I think you should take one of those guys, and then I'm going to just throw another guy out there for the next pick.
Okay. So I like what you said about Braylon Allen. Let's take him. So that is our so that's our fifth. That's our 5th running back. Okay. So as far as the other guys, there's Otten. We could go with another running back too, or there's Alec Pearson-Tillman. Do you have any leans there? As we have a little bit of time here.
I like all of those guys. This is more of a question. When you clicked on tight end, I saw Taysom Hill there. Now, yes. That's just interesting because I wonder if he's going to play more quarterback this year now that they literally. They've got Tyler Shuck.
Yeah.
First of all, Tyler Shuck can't stay healthy. I know Taysom Hill can't stay healthy either. But if he's hitting your lineup as a tight end, but maybe gets a start or 2 at quarterback.
Interesting. Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah. He has the torn ACL, but I feel like that affects him less than running backs, receivers. it's still like he might be out like the first month or so. I don't know what his schedule looks like with the torn ACL, but like
Yeah,
I mean late in the year it is really interesting.
Yeah, this is early for him anyway. I'm just throwing
Yeah,
that out
yeah,
there with it being best ball.
yeah, for sure. No, I agree. I think we need a sixth receiver here.
Okay.
Between Pierce and Tillman, who would you take? Actually,
Um,
let me look at bye weeks. So it's 11 and 9. We have a 9 and we have an 11. It's the same. What do you think?
I like Tillman a little bit better. I think Pierce
Okay.
is what he is at this point.
Yeah.
But Pierce is going to hit your lineup a few times if you draft him. I mean, Richardson will just take the ball. You've seen it. He just chucks it up, and Pierce comes down with it.
Yep.
Every other week. Tillman, I think, still has some upside, like we talked about earlier, though.
Yeah. No, I like him. I mean, he's like with Winston, he really produced. It was it was really impressive down the stretch. And then they benched Winston because I figured they wanted to lose. So with Thompson Robinson, he was awful, but everyone was awful with Thompson Robinson. That was such a disaster that team. Especially like week 18, they didn't field like a real team, and they lost by. I think they were 20-point underdogs and lost by 25. It was so sad.
Yeah, that was. And you hear the story about the Patriots, right? If the Patriots just win that or lose, that last game to the Bills, they end up with the first pick in the draft.
Yep.
They probably get a future first trading down a spot or two.
Yep.
And then they also probably end up with Travis Hunter or, Abdul Carter instead of getting, a guy who's probably going to end up being a left guard in another couple of years.
Yeah, that was such a horrible decision to win that game. I know, like the players want to win. I don't blame the players, but because they may not be around, so of course they're looking out for themselves and their next contract. They just
and the same with the coaching staff, right? I mean, we saw that coaching staff got fired.
That's true. Yeah. I think if I were the owner, I would be like, "Hey guys, I want to lose this game. If we're winning this, I'm firing you." To make a reverse incentive to win.
Well, remember, Lovie Smith got fired for that.
Yeah, yes,
and it ended up working out for them because it prevented them from drafting Bryce Young, and they ended up having to trade up, and they took, C.J. Stroud.
Yeah, it's funny that worked out. By the way, when the Panthers made that trade, I know from a source that the coaches were so excited that they were going to take Stroud, and they all thought they're going to take Stroud, and then Tepper comes in and is like, "No, we're taking Bryce Young." They're like, "Oh no."
Oh wow, I didn't know that. Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. The day it happened, one of our top sources told us hey, they're excited about Stroud, and then every mock draft had Young, and I'm like, haha, we're gonna get this one. It was Stroud, and then a week later, I heard the same sources Tepper decided that he wants Young instead.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so way to not listen to your coaches that you hired. Apparently you know more than them.
Yeah.
If you had if you had that little faith in your coaches, why even hire those coaches? I don't know. Same thing happened, by the way, sort of, with Bill O'Brien in the Deshaun Watson draft. But we're up in 2 picks. I'll continue that in a second. We have 2 players left in Ship. I like Shipley here because if Barkley goes down, he's going to go nuts. There's no Kenneth Gainwell anymore, and then we could look at tight ends after that. But are you opposed to Shipley here?
No, I like Shipley.
Okay, cool. All right, so we'll take him if he's available. He is. We'll take him.
Gainwell's gone now.
Yeah, exactly. I feel like he's going to take the Gainwell role. And in blowouts, he's going to play. And obviously, if Barkley goes down, tomorrow, like you said, falling down, getting a drink, where does Shipley go? Does he go 5th, 6th round? Or maybe higher? Where do you go? What do you think he goes?
I'm drawing a blank right now. I feel like, didn't they sign somebody else? I thought they signed somebody this offseason.
I think it was AJ Dillon, I want to say, but he's not he's not a serious player. I don't know if he's going to make the final roster.
Yeah. That might, and if he does, I mean, it could be kind of like a committee there.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe if Barkley goes down, but Will Shipley looked pretty good last year.
Yeah, I was really impressed with him. I like him a lot. So I mean, never want to root for injury, but if that happens, you're really going to get paid off here. Talk about league winners. That could easily be a league winner if Barkley goes down early in the season. or even late during the season if your team's doing well and suddenly you get this boost. Anyway, Bill O'Brien wanted. So that was the Deshaun Watson draft, and like all the scouts and all the people in the front office, the GM, they wanted Deshaun Watson, and they wanted Mahomes too. So like the Chiefs beat them to the punch, traded for Mahomes. They also loved Deshaun Watson, and so they traded for Watson. And Bill O'Brien did not want Deshaun Watson. He wanted Tom Savage to be a starting quarterback. And
Tom Savage, wow, there we go. I forgot all about Tom Savage.
Yeah, exactly. By the way, we can't take Taysom Hill because he's a Week 11 bye. Our other tight end has a Week 11 bye. Yep. So all right, we're up now. I think we need a tight end. So who do you like? Chiggy Bang Bang, Dalton Schultz, Arroyo Higby.
Take your guy Higby. You've got to take your guy Higby. That's your guy.
All right, let's do it. Okay, so we got to Chris Long, by the way, on auto draft. So anyway, so the GM has to step down. So it's kind of like Bill O'Brien gets all the power after that. So like it's luckily that happened, after the draft and not beforehand. So Bill O'Brien just goes nuclear on everyone who wanted Watson, even though they ended up being right. Like he made sure to fire everyone in the scouting department and anyone in the front office who wanted Deshaun Watson. And not only that, he made sure tried to make sure that these people who he fired wouldn't get other jobs. Like he literally called, like if he heard these people were interviewing for other jobs, he would call the other teams, and say, "Don't hire this guy."
This guy didn't want to take Tom Savage in the first round over Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson.
I know.
Tom Savage wasn't even in the first round conversation. That was the Deshaun Kaiser draft, right? That was that year, I think.
Well, no, Savage. I think Savage wasn't. I think he was drafted the year before, so he was on the team as like a second-year player. I think he was a 4th round pick, if I remember correctly.
Oh, he was already on the team. Okay,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to make sure. I think 4th round of 2016. Okay. Let's see here. It's not really telling me. Sorry, 4th round of 2014. So he was entering the 4th year. Okay. Yeah. So yeah, I mean, for some reason he had was loving Tom Savage.
Well, Tom Savage was the next Matt Shaw, right? That's what I remember hearing about with him. I mean, there's so many of those guys. I mean, you hear the thing about Shedeur Sanders and him falling. You've been following the draft forever. This happens a lot more than people realize. I think people just have short memories. Like, do you remember the year Ryan Nassib was going to be the Bills' 1st round pick? And the week of the draft, everyone was like, Ryan Nassib's going to the Bills in the 1st round. And he fell to day 3.
Yeah. There's some publications saying Matt Barkley was going to be a top 10 pick.
Day 3. Yeah. Connor Cook was supposed to be a 1st round pick. He was day 3.
Yeah. To a lesser extent, Will Levis. Remember everyone saying Colts number 4 overall, and he went 2nd round. This happens all the time. By the way, I mean, people listening to this are going to roll their eyes because I've said this like a million times. I don't think you've heard it. I showed my mock draft to a scout on an NFC team during the combine, and this is a team that didn't need a quarterback. He said, he replied to me via text with like 7 words, and he said, "Get Shedeur out of the 1st round." This is back in February. And I was like, really? Like, I feel like, even if it doesn't go top 5, like some team in the teens might take him or 20s. And he said, like, no, we have a day 3 grade on him. I'm like, wow. So he was surprised that a team didn't take him in day 2. But yeah, he said that, they had a day 3 grade on him. So, and he also said that it wasn't because of off the field stuff. It was just, they didn't think he was that good. All right, so 3rd tight end or something else. Let's take a 3rd tight end. So we have Okonkwo, Gray, Kmetz. We can't take week 8 bye. So what do you think about these guys?
I don't love a lot of these guys. I mean, I like Arroyo. He's a rookie.
We have week 8 bye. So
okay.
We're running out of time. We just take Chiggy Bang Bang.
That works.
Right, okay, so we have 3, 6, 6, 3. So these last 2 picks could either be running back, receiver, or 2 receivers. Do you are there any like super late round guys you like off the top of your head? I mean, you're the dynasty guy, so like who would you recommend here?
I mean, I haven't gotten to this point in my redraft rankings yet.
Right.
Would you mind clicking on receiver just so I could see who's there? By the way, Shador Sanders wasn't in my first round mock either.
Nice.
I was on ESPN Radio Southwest Florida.
Yeah.
And I told them 2 weeks before the draft I didn't think Sanders was going in the first round, but day
Nice.
3 kind of surprised me.
Yeah, me too.
Wicks is interesting in best ball. Tutu Atwell. Tutu Atwell is a guy who McVay says he hasn't done a good job getting him the ball. They gave him a lot of money this offseason.
Yeah,
he's
sure.
interesting in best ball.
Yeah, he's what, 10 million they gave him. So
yeah, and McVay said he's got to do a better job getting him the ball.
Yeah, I mean, look, if you're right about Adams, then someone is going to step up there. So
yeah,
that's I like that call. I like let's take Atwell. Let's just make sure we don't have too many receiver 8 buys. So we have Harrison, and that's it. So yeah, we're good with that. And any like late round 20th guys? You mentioned the other guy, the other running back on the Cowboys. Do you think we should consider him Mafa? What do you think?
I don't know if he makes the team. I mean, he is interesting to me, but he's kind of what I mean by that is I'm going to have my eye on that situation in camp. I'm going to look at when he comes into the preseason games. You know, is he coming in the first half or is he buried behind everybody? I wouldn't lock him into a lineup that I can't change at this point.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. All right. We're about to be on the clock here. By the way, I saw Team 12. What's his name? Arrowhead Red. We didn't mention him yet, but he took both Jackson Dart and Russell Wilson. Way to handicap your upside.
Yeah.
I don't want to take you one, but like both, like, you know, one of them's not going to do anything. All right. So Atwell's going to be our pick here. And then we could kind of talk about who we're going to draft. Who's our like super late guy? I've been taking Marcos Valdes-Scantling, but I have him so much that I don't mind differentiating a little bit.
Okay, I mean, if you want to take another guy like that, you know, you've got Chimere DK for the Titans, but you know they also signed Tyler Lockett, so Tyler Lockett could be in that role this year. You know, I think Dante Thornton's a little bit overrated with the Raiders, but he's one of those kind of like, you know, I'm going to keep vertical guys. Isaac Tesla plays in a good offense, got drafted in the 3rd round. He's another one. Like I thought he'd be a 5th round pick, but
yeah, he just went. Did
he get it? Okay.
Yeah, he just went 1906. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm just throwing a bunch of guys out there.
Mm-hmm.
Not having my redraft rankings. I'll tell you how Brashard Smith, I feel like, is getting so overrated.
You think? I think so too. There's so many running backs there.
There's so many. I mean, I don't even know if he's going to make the team.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Drafted him, so maybe he's got the inside edge on a roster spot. But he's a 3rd down back, and Patrick Mahomes never checks the ball down.
That's totally true. I mean, like he has to like not just get by Pacheco, but he also has to get by Elijah Mitchell and Kareem Hunt. So yeah. What do you think about Roman Wilson? Because the Steelers are bad. Yeah.
I love Roman Wilson. I thought he was going to be, you know, a steal where they got him. I was kind of surprised he fell to the 3rd round and then he was hurt all last year.
Right. I think I had him on the sleepers page. Yeah, but he never stayed healthy.
Yep. But, I mean, he showed up to the Senior Bowl. He looked like the best guy there.
Yeah. I mean, I've been taking him a lot, not as much as Valdes-Scantling, but I've been taking him quite a bit just because, you know, I saw a report saying that like they like him a lot this year, and they're expecting him to do more. And also, they don't have a second receiver outside of him, maybe. But Metcalf, they traded Pickens, and then I feel like that opens things up for Roman Wilson. So, I definitely have interest in him.
Yeah, you know what? I think that should be the pick. I like Roman Wilson a lot. I'm trying to think of a couple other guys in that range to sort of fill the time here. But
Yeah, let's let's look at it. I mean, we have get out here. There's Amari Cooper who like might be on a team, but he's old.
he
Uh,
looked washed last year.
he did, yeah. He was hurt though.
Yeah,
On teams, speaking of Wash, but like Williams last year had the torn ACL. Like I feel like he could be better this year.
he
I,
could
I
be.
think I think every team I've had with Justin Herbert, I've taken Williams.
Okay.
Just in case. Lambert Smith, I mentioned him. He's good route runner, is quick receiver.
Yeah.
I think he has potential. You mentioned Jalen Lane before too. Um,
Yeah, I really don't think Jalen Lane's gonna. I have Jalen Lane. He's been a frequent like fifth round pick in my dynasty rookie drafts,
okay.
but you
All right.
know,
We're on the clock. Let's take Roman Wilson, or would you rather
yeah,
take Jalen Lane?
I love Roman Wilson. I think that's fantastic. If my rankings were done, he would be at the top of the list in this range.
Yeah, I like him a lot. I think he's going way too late. He should be going like 17th, 16th round, the very earliest, very
He's got
latest.
more upside than Valdez Scantling too.
Yeah.
You could end up getting like a legitimate good player rather than just
Oh yeah.
someone who can line up a couple of times.
Oh, 100%. I think maybe like a as far as like one or two spike games, I'd rather have MBS, but like Wilson, I think it's gonna be more consistent. So, um, yeah, we'll see. But yeah, I think we're about to close out. I wonder how many rookies Dwayne drafted. So Hunter's 1, McMillan 2, Henderson 3, Johnson 4, Judkins 5, Scotabo 6, Tootin 7, Williams 8, Sampson 9, Ferguson 10, Sanders 11, Nash 12, Fedone 13. Nice. 65% of his roster is a rookie. So congratulations.
If there's one thing that the viewers out there listen to me say tonight, it's if you can take an undrafted rookie free agent wide receiver in the 18th round of a redraft best ball league in May, you've got to do it. You've got to take Nick Nash, quarterback from San Jose State, who they turned into a wide receiver.
Yeah.
Was there for like 11 years. You've got to do it.
You have to. Yeah.
Leave
You have
with it. All he has to do is first make the practice squad and then work his way onto the 53-man roster, but then look out.
Oh yeah, and the week draft and the round before you have to draft the fourth string quarterback too.
Yes. Oh, that's right. I didn't even see that. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he drafted 4 tight ends, all 15th round or later. So I'm not. He might be last place here.
Yeah.
Just taking a guess. Quick review of our team. So we started with Robinson, are the running backs, and Mixon, and then we drafted some sleepers: Guerrero, Algier, Allen, and Shipley. So I like the upside. Like those, two of these guys could really pop off, and then we have a great running backs. Receivers look good too with Brown, Harrison, Addison, Olave, Higgins, and then Tillman at the end with Atwell and Wilson as sleepers. And then our quarterback, we're led by Jalen Hurts, but we also had Prescott in May. May has a lot of upside. Prescott could bounce back this year. We'll see. And then tight end, we have Tyler Warren, who drafted him early, and then we took Higbee and Okonkwo. So I like how this team played out. I mean, obviously they're our picks, so we're gonna like them. And I think like everyone loves their draft as soon as it's over, at least for the most part. I did think I've had a couple of drafts where I'm like, I don't like this team, but generally, most people will like the draft. So how do you think we did?
Yeah, I agree. I like. I think there's a lot of upside. When I get to my redraft rankings and I stack my running backs, I actually take those guys who I consider to be potential league-winning handcuffs, like Guerrero, like Algier, certainly, and I rank them ahead of some of the sort of like mediocre starting running backs. Like we get those guys like, again, I brought up Zamir White last year. Like I didn't want Zamir White on any of my teams. I'd rather take, Tyler Algier because I know that if he plays, he's in my lineup rather than, all right, well, Zamir White's going to play, but I'm never going to want to put him in my lineup. So, I like taking the upside there.
Yeah.
And yes, women should be allowed to vote to answer Sips's question. Of course they should. I don't think anybody would argue with that in the year 2025.
Our last beta simp, yes. Women should be allowed to vote. I'm very libertarian. I think so. I said I said for the last time I said they'd be better off not voting. I think you say that about a lot of people. Anyway, so yeah, guys, thank you so much for watching and commenting. Really appreciate it. Thanks, Mike, for joining us tonight. It's a great show. Love having you on. Can't wait to do it again later this summer. I hope you can come on, in a few weeks from now, or I don't know what your schedule is, but we'll talk about it after the show. So, and before we head out, do you want to talk about NFLRoughDraft.com at all?
Yeah, I mean, NFL Rough Draft is just my hobby with my buddy Ray Mencio. Like I mentioned, I used to work for ESPN Stats and Information. And when I realized that I wanted to have a family and not work until 3 o'clock in the morning covering sports that I don't care about, I just decided to, kind of start this thing up. And we've been fortunate. We've been pretty accurate with, not the mock drafts, but our top 100 board has been, pretty accurate over the years. We've won it 3 times. We were number 1 in the 5-year average for like 4 straight years or something like that. And, now we get into this time of the year and it's fantasy football season. And I love that. And Walt, I always love coming on your show and talking football. I live for this stuff. So, I always get excited when I get the opportunity to come on here, and thank you again for letting me do the show with you tonight.
Yeah, you're a great co-host to have on. I love having you on. So yeah, I'm excited. I want to do some more shows with you later on in the summer. So we'll talk about it. But yeah, guys, we'll be back on Saturday with Tom, and then next week Evan's coming back from Las Vegas. So he said he found 10 spreads for week 1 that were way off. So I'm really eager to hear what he has to say about that. But yeah, please hit like, subscribe, comment below, share this video, visit the link in the description for the merch store. All right, guys, I hope you have a great start to your weekend, and I will talk to you on Saturday.